Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Kami sends Naruto to rwby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by D Nasty and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Orange trailer and prologue. The sun was going down, turning the blue sky into an orange afternoon in a city where everyone was doing their own business, going about their usual day. In a secluded part of town there was a tan-skinned 17-year-old boy sitting on top of a water tower looking over the city and the beautiful orange afternoon glow. He had spiky red hair with orange highlights, almost like his hair was kinda on fire, ocean blue eyes, on top of his head were crimson fox ears sticking out, whisker marks on his cheeks. Wearing his hunter outfit, it was a blue muscle shirt, and over it was a dark orange short-sleeved hoodie that was zipped to the chest, having a crimson spiral on his right chest with a large and long yellow scarf around his neck covering his mouth, having both ends flowing on the back to his butt, orange bracelets on his wrists, black fingerless gloves with gray steel knuckles, gray baggy cargo jeans having a long crimson foxtail coming out of the back of his pants, and orange greave boots over his black combat boots, and his back was a large orange sword. I know I felt it around here somewhere, the redhead muttered, standing up. Suddenly he heard a noise behind him, making him look back to see on the outskirts of the city a small group of large grim black wolves with bone masks, claws, and red eyes with yellow pupils, known as the Beowulfs, trying to get past the barrier. I knew it. I'll have to tell the police about this after I take care of these guys, he said before taking the contraption off his back with his right hand and shifted it to rifle mode. Time to put some dogs down. The redhead smirked. He fired from his weapon, launching a crimson blast, using the recoil to launch him towards the group of Beowulfs. When he landed right in the middle of them, they attacked, and the redhead dodged and danced around them, shooting them in their vital areas not covered by their bony armor that dropped them instantly in various stylish ways before jumping over the last one, sticking his gun and shooting it in the back of the neck, with the Beowulf dropping as he landed. Hearing a growl behind him, the redhead turned his head to see more Beowulfs as some got through the barrier, making their way into the city, making him sigh before he smirked. With a flick of his wrist he shifted his rifle turn into a sword and twirled around, slicing the Beowulfs around him through the necks or through the guts, killing them before he positioned his sword to the ground and fired it, sending him up in the air. A couple of Beowulfs leaped at the redhead, trying to kill him from the air, but it wasn't happening, as he pointed his sword behind him and fired with the recoil, sending him towards the group, swinging the blade and slicing the three Beowulfs' neck. He shifted his sword backwards and fired using the recoil to send him to the ground, where he turned into an orange blur with slashes appearing all over the area when the redhead appeared back where he landed with his sword over his chest, and all the Beowulfs fell down on the ground dead. When that happened, 5 more Beowulfs came out of the woods of an attempt to an ambush in case he was weakened. Seeing this, the redhead shifted his sword back into its sheathed form and placed it back on his back. Then he shifted his bracelets into shot gauntlets and greaves before he punched one in the gut, and shooting it with a crimson glow shot, making a hole in the midsection. Then he turned around and kicked one in the mouth as it tried to sneak attack him before he fired from his boots, blasting it brains all over the place. The third wolf came right up to him, and the blonde punched him twice in the gut before he grabbed it and slammed it on the ground and fired from both gauntlets, killing it as the recoil sended him up in the air. The last 2 Beowulfs jumped at him, swiping their claws at the redhead, but he blocked them using his shot gauntlets and kicked them in the chest using his shot greaves, firing them into the ground, where he landed and fired 2 punch shots to their heads, killing them. Now to go after the strays, the redhead said before taking out his sword again and using his super fast speed to zoom into the city on top of building, where he saw 15 Beowulfs running and jumping over building to get to the Anoxan people miles away from them. Not on my watch, the redhead said before he jumped down to a building and swung his sword, cutting one of the wolves in half before he positioned his sword and fired another one in the back of the neck, blowing its head off. The redhead got to running again right behind 3 of the dangerous wolves and raised his sword and shot one in the back of his head, making the other 2 stop, but that proved to be a bad move on their part as the blonde appeared before them before swinging his sword twice, cutting them into discarded limbs. He looked up to the other 10 in a straight line in front of him, so he positioned his sword behind him and fired while also using his super speed to zoom towards his prey as he moved, then jumped, twirled, and spinned all around, slashing, slicing, and firing to give him an edge to killing off the wolf bastards. When he got to the last one, he put his weapons on its neck and fired, making the recoil slice its head clean off, where the redhead jumped and flipped in the air before landing on a lone building with his sword on his right shoulder in front of the sunset as the wind blew his scarf wildly. Well, that got my blood pumping, he said, shifting his sword back into compact mode and placed it on his back. Now I better head off. And with that he vanished. Later, the redhead walked into a normal size house and sat down on a living room couch and sighed. Sweetie, is that you? A voice asked. The redhead turned his head to see a woman walk in the living room from the kitchen. She brown hair what went to her shoulders and blue eyes, wearing a blue blouse, green skirt that reached her ankles, and black shoes. She also had brown fox ears coming out of her head. Hey mom. I just back from dealing with some grim that made it past the city's barrier, the redhead said. Naruto Uzumaki, what have I told you about going out and fighting grim? The woman said sternly. To be cautious and not to bite off more than I can chew. The redhead sighed, now known as Naruto Uzumaki. That's right. The woman nodded her head. There are some Grimm out there that are more experienced and harder to kill than the average ones. I know, May. Naruto said before he was bopped on the head. I am your mother, damn it. Call me as such. May shouted. Ah, okay. Naruto laughed, rubbing his head. Idiot. May smiled, leaving the room to prepare for dinner. Naruto sighed and leaned his head back to the couch, looking up at the ceiling. Hard to imagine Kami gave a new life after the war. Naruto thought, remembering how he came to the world of Remnant. Flashback. Where am I? What's going on? Naruto asked weakly as he groggily got up. He looked around to see that he was in a white void as far as he could see that seemed to go for miles. I see you woke up. A voice said behind Naruto, making him turn his head to see a woman with long silvery blonde hair and blue eyes wearing a nicely fitted while extremely elegant-looking white kimono, smiling warmly at him. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person, Naruto. I know you are wondering where you currently are, and I'll answer that. You are in a limbo between life and death. As for myself, I am Kami, the creator of life. Naruto could only nod dumbly, knowing now that he was in the presence of Kami herself. Never knew Kami was so beautiful. Naruto muttered. Why, thank you? Kami giggled, hearing him, making Naruto blush in embarrassment. So I'm in limbo, right? Naruto asked to make sure. That's right. Kami nodded. Am I to assume that the war's over and I won? Naruto asked. Yes, you did. You sacrificed your life to beat Madara and Kagaya after they took everything from you, and you brought peace to the shinobi world. Kami said. That's all I could ask for. Naruto smiled, leaning back on his arms and looking up before he looked at Kami. So does this mean I get to join the others in the afterlife? Not quite, Naruto. Kami said. What do you mean? Naruto asked, confused. Me and your loved ones talked, and we think you should be given another chance at life. Kami smiled. Seriously? Naruto gaped in shock. Of course, Naruto. After everything you've done and been through, you deserve to start over. Kami said. I don't know what to say. Naruto said. But before we do anything, I have two people who would love to talk to you. Kami said, gesturing behind her to two people Naruto recognized instantly. Hinata! Sakura! Naruto exclaimed happily, seeing his two lovers again as he stood up and hugged them as said girls hugged him back. It's good to see you again, Naruto. Hinata said, hugging him tightly. How you been, you big lug? Sakura said, hugging him just as tight. It's good to see you both again after what happened. Naruto said as they pulled away from each other. So how's life treating you girls? Sorry, the afterlife. He corrected himself. Pretty good, surprisingly. Sakura smiled. Yeah, nothing I can complain about. Hinata giggled. I'm glad you two are doing well. Naruto grinned. So did Kami tell you about being given another chance at life? Sakura asked. Yeah, she did. I'm surprised you guys, especially you two, would want me to be given the chance. I figured you guys would want me here. Naruto said. We do, Naruto, more than anything. But we feel you deserve to go have a better life than the one you previously had. Hinata said. She's right, Naruto. Sakura agreed. I don't have a say in this, do I? Naruto laughed. Nope. Hinata and Sakura giggled. Alright. But I'm only doing this cause of you two. Naruto pouted, smiling. Silly. Sakura smiled, slapping him arm playfully. That's our Naruto. Hinata smiled. So are you ready, Naruto? Kami asked, coming towards the three. 1 second. Naruto said, turning to Kami before looking back at Hinata and Sakura and kissing each one passionately before hugging them both. I love you both. We love you too. The girls said, hugging him back before they separate. And don't try to kill yourself to see us again quicker. They shouted. Got it. Naruto chuckled as Hinata and Sakura faded out, leaving him and Kami alone. I'm going to miss them. They want you to have another chance to be happy, Naruto. Kami said, placing her hand on his shoulder. And I do too, thanks. Naruto nodded. So about this new chance at life. Right. I'm sending you to a new dimension. This place I'm sending you is called Remnant, full of people called huntsmen and huntresses, as well their enemies the Grimms. Kami smiled. Huntsmen and huntresses? Grimm? What kind of place are you sending me to? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. One I think you'll like. Kami giggled. Flashback ends. After getting the rundown of what world he was being sent in, and having his Uzumaki blood awaken as a gift, Naruto was reborn and turned into a baby fox faunus, where he would have all of his past abilities transported into a village where he was found by May and raised him as if he was her own. While it was okay there for a while, there were some complications that made them leave there when Naruto was at age 5 and come to the island patch. And in a few months I'll be heading to Beacon. Naruto muttered, smiling at the thought of attending Vale's most successful academy. Naruto! Dinner's ready! May shouted from the kitchen. Coming! Naruto shouted, getting up from the couch and into the kitchen, where May was placing food on the table for the two of them. Food looked great, Mom. As always. Why, thank you? May giggled as they sat down and began to eat. So are you ready for Beacon? Ready as I'll ever be. Naruto smiled. That's good, sweetie. You have so much potential. I just know you'll become a great huntsman. May said, placing her hand on Naruto's. Like mother, like son, right? Naruto grinned. Exactly. May smiled. With that, the family of two enjoyed their dinner together while talking about their days and anything else. Naruto had to admit, though there were a few bumps in the road here and there, the new life Kami gave for him here in this new world was bearable, and Naruto wouldn't trade it for anything. Chapter 1A Robbery, Not a Bad Weapon. Naruto must looking at a magazine of the latest edition of Weapons and Huntresses Weekly. Naruto was at a dust shop named From Dusk Till Dawn, a dust shop where they, of course, sells dust in either its powdered or crystal forms, along with books, tools, cartridges, scales, etc. to do a little stocking up on dust, and do a little reading. I agree that weapon packs some serious-looking firepower. Naruto turned his head to see a cute 15-year-old girl with short black hair with a red tint that reaches down to her shoulders, silver eyes, pale white skin, a slender figure with beak-up breasts, and wearing a black and red outfit consisting of a red hooded cloak over a black blouse with red trimming, a black and red corset, a black frilly skirt also with red trimmings, black stocking, and black red lace boots, with a belt that holds large cartridges and a magazine pouch for her personal weapon with her symbol of a gray rose beside it. Said weapon was red in a rectangular shape in its compact form on the back of her hips. Ruby? What are you doing here? Naruto asked. I came by to do some late-night reading on the latest weapons and I saw you standing there. Ruby smiled before raising an eyebrow. Speaking of which, aren't you supposed to be home getting ready to go to Beacon? I decided to get some fresh air for a while. I already finished packing everything I need. Naruto shrugged before looking back at the magazine. You're free to read with me if you want, Rubes. He smiled at his friend. Thanks, Naruto. There's a reason why you're my best friend. Ruby grinned before leaning into Naruto's side and placing her head on his shoulder to read with him, signing in content. Naruto chuckled at her, remembering how he and Mei meet Ruby and her family after they left their old village. Flashback 11 years ago. Mei was walking through the forest with a huge backpack on her back, carrying an unconscious 6-year-old Naruto in her arms, wearing only black shorts. Only he was covered in bandages wrapped around his torso, arms, right leg, and around his head. Mei stopped to sit and lay against a tree to catch her breath after 4 days of running from that horrible village that put her son in this state. Mei, Naruto groaned, coming to opening his eyes to look at Mei. Shhhh, it's okay, honey. We're far away from that village. Mei soothed, hugging Naruto close to her. I'm sorry. Naruto muttered. 'Cause of me I made you leave your home. Don't ever say that. Mei said as tears appeared in her eyes. You're the best thing that has ever happened to me. If it's anyone's fault, it's that bastard of a village hero who did this to you. She said, holding Naruto tighter. Heh. Naruto chuckled weakly. Remember how you found me? How could I forget? Mei laughed softly. You were just a baby fox faunus I found in my backyard, all alone with nothing but a blanket wrapped around you and a piece of paper that had your name on it saying take care of you. That was 5 years ago, and you've treated me like a son ever since then. Naruto smiled. I know, honey. Mei smiled, kissing the top of his head and brushing his hair and fox ears. And I promised I would always look after you. I guess I didn't do a very good job. You did a great job. Naruto looked up at Mei. You're the best mom I could ask for. And besides, like you said, it was that fake village hero's fault. But if I had been sharper sooner, I could have prevented him from. Hey, Mom. Naruto raised his hand and placed it against her cheek, wiping away her tears. It's okay. As long as I'm with you, I can handle any kind of pain that throws itself at me. Naruto smiled, making Mei smile back at him. Thanks you, Naruto. Mei said gratefully. Mei always feared she wouldn't make a good parent, something she dreamed about being every day besides being a huntress. And when she found Naruto, she thought God had finally answered her prayers and let her be a mom. After finding out what's been happening to Naruto right under her nose, she felt as though she failed as a mother and was unfit to further raise Naruto. But here he was comforting her and telling her that she was the best mom he could ask for. Mei was really grateful that Naruto was her son. Naruto groaned and sat up in Mei's arms as she put him down. You going to be okay? Mei asked. I should be fine. Naruto said, moving his shoulders around. Ah. Naruto and Mei's ears pitched up hearing that sound, and it wasn't that far from them. Looking at one another, the two fox faunus got up and moved to where they heard that sound. When they got there, they saw a girl around Naruto's age with long blonde hair and lilac eyes, wearing a tan sundress and brown shoes, standing in front of a wagon that had another girl that looked 2 years younger than her with short black hair with a red tint and silver eyes, wearing a black dress with a red cloak over it, sitting in it. Both girls were paralyzed with fear as 6 beowulfs were stalking towards them, growling as 5 of them were making their way towards the girls, while one was standing back and looked more bony and larger than the others. Beowulfs. Mei frowned. And they're about to attack those girls. Naruto growled before rushing in to help. Naruto, wait! Mei shouted, trying to stop him. As the Beowulfs came closer to the 2 girls, Naruto jumped and slammed into one, knocking it into the others, making them tumble down to the ground away from the kids. Are you 2 okay? Naruto asked, turning to the girls. Why, yeah. The blonde-haired girl said. We're okay. The black-haired, red-tinted girl said. Hearing a growling noise, the kids turned to see the Beowulfs get up and growled at them. Back off. Naruto growled as his body was covered in an orange glow before that glow bursted and blasted the Beowulfs away. Good job, Naruto. Mei said in a proud tone, coming up beside him. She then turned her attention to the 2 girls. Why hello there, I'm Mei and this is my son Naruto, she introduced. Hiya. Naruto grinned at them. Hello, I'm Yang, the blonde-haired girl said. And I'm Ruby, the black-haired red-tinted girl said. They were interrupted when the Beowulfs came rushing at them. Here they come. Naruto frowned, standing in front of the girls. I'll handle them, Mei said as she pulled out a pink-handled double-steeled katana from the backpack and stood in front of the kids before dashing forward and stabbed one Beowulf in the chest before slashing it upwards, cutting the head clean off. The other two came forward to slash at Mei, but she blocked their claws from the strikes before she jumped up, twirled around, and kicked them in the face, making them stumble back. The other two rushed at Mei as she landed, but she twirled her katana around before it shifted into a Quan Dao with a pink staff handle in the middle and a sharp blade sticking out end. Mei then twirled it around and blocked a strike with the butt of her Quan Dao and stabbing the other Beowulf in the stomach before she twirled it and cut it in half, then positing the Quan Dao to the bottom of the other Beowulf and slashed it from the bottom up, slicing it in half. The last two Beowulfs came charging at Mei, who shifted her Quan Dao into an assault rifle with the trigger and handle coming out the front end of the pink handle, and she placed a black magazine under the rifle where the clip was supposed to go. She then pointed the blade where a barrel came out of it and fired a rapid barrage of pink bullets at them, knocking them back. As the Wolf Grim tried to get their bearings back, Mei jumped at them and shifted her assault rifle back into the Quan Dao mode and sliced both their necks off before landing. Cool! Yang and Ruby exclaimed. That's my mom. Naruto grinned. That's right. Mei smiled. Suddenly her danger senses went off, making Mei turn around and hold up her Quan Dao to block the last Beowulf that was the alpha, but the strength of the strike pushed her into the ground, skidding in front of the Naruto, Yang, and Ruby. The alpha howled loudly and two more alpha Beowulfs came from behind to back it up, making Yang and Ruby tense up while Mei and Naruto narrowed their eyes. Suddenly a man jumped from above them and landed in front of the group. He had spiky back black hair with red eyes. He had on a gray shirt with a darker gray stripe doing the middle, and a red cape on with black pants. On his back was a larger silver sword, with a long red handle, with a gray frame over part of it with a bladed guard in front of part of the handle. The blade was large, and had several lines going over it. The man pulled out his sword and slashed all over the first alpha before he righted it beside him and thrusted it into the Beowulf's head, and slashed it sideways, cutting its face in two. The other two alpha Beowulfs growled before rushing at the man, who turned his sword into a scythe. The pole was black with red grips on it, and the blade was the blade of his sword, only now disconnected and curved into a side blade, with a sharper red part that came out of the side blade. The man jumped up and twirled around, slicing the Wolf Grim into bits before he landed, shifted his scythe back into his sword and placed it back on his back before he turned his head back to look at the group. Everyone okay? He asked. Uncle Crow. Yang and Ruby shouted. We're fine, Mei said, standing up and walked towards the man and stuck out her hand. I'm Mei Vulpine, Crow Branwyn. Crow introduced, shaking Mei's hand. I arrived when the Beowulfs were advancing on my nieces, but then I saw that redhead kid knocking them down away from them. Quite impressive for a kid, he said, smirking. Yeah, that's my son Naruto Uzumaki. He has a knack of doing the impossible. Mei laughed before gaining a serious look on her face. Mind telling me what two kids were doing out at night like this? I have a thought, Crow said before looking at Yang, who was being hugged by Naruto along with Ruby in comfort at their near-death experience. Yang must have been looking for signs of her mother. He turned his head slightly to look behind him at the ruined building. She did used to come to this shack a lot before she disappeared. Are you two going to be okay? Naruto asked as he separated from the girls. Yeah, thanks for saving us earlier. Yang smiled. Yeah. It was really awesome. Ruby smiled. Ah, well, you know. Naruto chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. So what happened to the kid that caused him to be in so much bandages? Crow asked, seeing Naruto over. You know a village named Pachin? Well, the village hero decided to do something unspeakable to my son cause of his large aura that he has. Mei spoke with so much venom that Crow raised an eyebrow at the hate. Yeah, I know that village, it's quite large, plus the hero of it is a good huntsman and scientist, Crow said before his eyes narrowed. Wait, you're saying he put your son in that condition? How? Mei looked at Naruto to see he was preoccupied with the Yang and Ruby before she turned to Crow and whispered something in his ear, making him widen his eyes in shock. He really did that? Crow whispered as Mei nodded her head. Crow looked at Naruto with a frown. Does the kid know? Given the fact he was on the receiving end of that, I should say he should, Mei said in a saddened tone. That's rough, Crow said gravely before he looked at Mei. Listen, why don't you and the kid come with us? I know a place where you can stay at for a while till you find a place of your own. You sure it's okay? Mei asked. Positive, Crow said. He then smirked and jabbed his thumb at the three kids. Plus I think my nieces don't want to be away from their new friend. Mei looked back at the kids and couldn't help but giggle at that was true. Flashback ends. That was a day Naruto would never forget. As Naruto and Ruby read, they ignored the sound of the bell ringing, meaning someone else was coming into the store. Oh, look at that one, Naruto. This says that a hunter has a weapon that can fire different energies of dust as well as aura. Ruby gushed, pointing at an article. I find that hard to believe. That guy is either lying or has a high usage of aura, which I doubt. Naruto put his 2 cents in. Alright, you two, put your hands where I can see them. A man wearing a black suit with a red tie, wearing black gloves with a black top hat and red shades, said, pointing a red-bladed cleaver at them, but they ignored him and continued on their conversation. How can you doubt some hunter's skills? Ruby asked. 'Cause I've seen some that just care about fame instead of protecting the people. Naruto said. Well, I suppose you're right. Ruby said. Of course I'm right. Naruto smirked. Hey, I said, hands in the air. You two got a death wish or something? The man getting their attention. Huh? Ruby raised an eyebrow, confused. Can we help you? Naruto asked. I said hands in the air now. The man demanded. Are you rubbing us? Ruby asked. Yes. The man said. Oh, Ruby said. In that case. Naruto shrugged, putting the magazine down as he and Ruby got ready. Hey, ha/hiya. Naruto and Ruby double punched the goon, sending him flying from the aisle. Soon another just like him came and pointed a pistol at them. Freeze! He ordered. Naruto and Ruby smirked at each other before they ran at him and kicked him, sending themselves and the guy out the window, smashing it and into the streets. The duo looked behind them to see a man with orange hair having a few bangs covering his right eye with green eyes, wearing a black bowler with a red stripe, a white suit jacket and black slacks with red liner, black gloves, a gray scarf, and black undershirt, carrying a cane with a cigar in his mouth, looking at them with few more goons around him. That's Roman Torchwick. Naruto said, recognizing him from the news and encountering him a few times. Okay, Roman said before he looked up to see Naruto and smirked a little. Well, it isn't the little orange fox. He then looked at his remaining henchmen and motioned towards the duo. Get them. The henchmen ran at Naruto and Ruby, raising their swords ready to strike. Time for them to meet my lady's storm blitz. Naruto said, readying his shot gauntlets and greaves. And my baby crescent rose. Ruby said, pulling out her weapon from her compact form in her right hand and transformed it into a high-caliber sniper rifle, scythe and scythe mode, before shifting her eyes at Naruto. Though I figured you'd be using Sunset Tempest. She motioned her head to the weapon on Naruto's back. Sunset Tempest was inspired by Ruby's crescent rose, with his weapon being a combination of a rifle and a sword. Its hilt is black with a twistable handle, a orange base that houses cartridge for dust bullets, and its blade is grayish silver. When he presses the hilt trigger, he changes it from its compact form to its battle form, the battle opening up to reveal black lines, expanding the blade and the hilt, with a barrel coming out of the base and lining itself against the back of the blade, the weapon being a little bigger than Ruby's crescent rose. I'll use her when things get dicey, Naruto said as the henchmen came in range. Heads up. One of them tried to hit Ruby, but she jumped up and double-kicked him in the face, knocking him away as she backflipped away. Naruto charged ahead and punched the other henchman in his gut, knocking him in the face, blasting him away into the streets. The other four reached him, but he stomped his foot into the ground, shooting him up in the air over them just right. A Ruby zipped up to them and smacked the butt of her scythe in one of the henchmen's face. She then fired a gray bullet from her sniper part of her scythe and boosted herself towards the other henchman, and butted him in the chest before slamming her right knee into his face and twirled crescent rose before batting him away into a street lamp, knocked out. With Naruto, he bobbed and weaved through the two henchmen's slashes at him before he punched and blasted one of them before spinning around and kicked him into the streets, slamming his head into the ground, knocking him out. Having enough of this, the last henchman pulled out a pistol and began firing at Naruto, who began dodging them left and right before he ducked and began break-dancing, kicking the pistol out from his hands. Riding himself under him, Naruto kicked him up in the air before he kicked himself up in the air, flying over him before slamming his fist into the henchman's back, making him crash into the ground before he skidded around the ground right at the feet of Roman. You were worth every cent, truly you were, he noted before turning his attention to Naruto and Ruby, dropping his cigar and crushing it with the barrel of his cane named Melodic Cudgel before pointing it at the duo as police sirens were heard in the distance. Well, Red, Orange, I think we can all say it's been an eventful evening, and as much as I'd love to stick around, I'm afraid that this is where we part ways. A red dot sight popped up from the end of the cane, and he fired a red blast at them, and Naruto countered by pulling out Sunset Tempest and fired a crimson blast at the attack to counter the incoming attack, making both attacks explode in midair and created a smokescreen. Shifting Sunset Tempest into sword mode, Naruto swift at the smoke and blew it away to find that guy wasn't there. He's gone. Naruto frowned as he and Ruby looked around. No, he's not, Ruby rebuked, pointing at a nearby building across the way. There she spotted the man climbing off a ladder. Are you gonna be okay here, sir? Naruto asked the shopkeeper, who was still hiding in the shop. The shopkeeper nodded quickly, and the duo set off after Roman. The criminal made it to roof and ran to the edge, with Naruto and Ruby following close behind after using their weapon recoils to soar onto the roof. Hold it right there, Torchwick, Naruto called out as they cornered him. Persistent, Roman muttered as the duo prepared to subdue him. But then, a VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing, tilt-jet aircraft called a Bullhead rose up from out of nowhere and opened the hatch to let Roman jump inside. It's the end of the line for you and your friend Orange, Roman declared after turning around and holding up a red dust gem. He threw it at the duo's feet, with Naruto and Ruby backing up a bit as Roman fired at them, aiming at the gem. Suddenly, another blur appeared in front of the two and blocked the blast of the explosion. Whoa-ho-ho-ho! Roman laughed, thinking that he got them until the smoke cleared. Huh! When the smoke cleared, it showed that the blur was a middle-aged woman, has very light blonde hair tied back in a bun with a curl hanging down the right side of face, bright green eyes with thin rectangular glasses, pale white skin, teal earrings, a slender build with E-cup breasts, and wears a long-sleeved suit that exposes part of her chest and her cleavage, a purple cape, a black business skirt, and black boots with brown heels. Pushing up her glasses, the woman waved her riding crop weapon and summoned several streaks of purple bolts at the bullhead, which rocked the craft upon impact. Naruto then joined in the fun and used the rifle part of Sunset Tempest to fire at the craft too. Roman struggled to keep his footing in the back of the craft, and managed to enter the cockpit, where a woman in red was struggling with the controls. It's that Kitsune, and he's got a huntress with him, Roman said, with the woman quickly getting up, headed towards the back as Roman took over the controls. The woman's purple aura then outlined her body for a moment, and aimed another blast above the bullhorn, summoning a dark storm cloud right over the craft. With a flick of her crop, large jagged ice shards shot from the cloud and pummeled the craft, even breaking the cockpit, with one narrowly missing Roman's head. Naruto then frowned when he and Ruby saw a woman at the hangar door, her appearance hidden in shadow, but they were able to see her wearing a red dress that went down to the middle of her thighs with a slit up the right side with black feathers, and black crystal high heels, but Naruto recognized the silhouette as the yellow outlines on the woman's red dress lit up. Is that? Naruto thought in alarm, yet dumbfounded that Roman and the person he was seeing appears to be working together, which doesn't mean anything good. Ruby! Jump back now! What? Why? Ruby cried out as the Shadow Woman fired several bursts of energy at the group. Both Naruto and the woman blocked the blasts, but the Shadow Woman raised her hand, with the area around the redhead and blonde glowing hot. They backflip out of the explosion that destroyed part of the roof, with the woman telekinetically gathering the shards from Cinder's attack to create a large arrow and fired it at the bullhorn. The Shadow Woman shattered it with a few fiery blasts, but the woman reformed it, but Roman moved the craft so it would hit the side of it. As the woman reformed them into 3 arrows with snake-like moments to bind the craft, Naruto shot crimson chains from his back and latched it onto the craft. Get down here! Naruto roared as he started to pull the bullhorn to the roof, but several glowing rings appeared around the Shadow Woman, who shot it out to expand and destroy the shards and the chains. Damn! Naruto placed Sunset Tempest on his back and began using Storm Blitz, punching shots of Crimson Bolt energy upon the craft, with Ruby joining in upon reverting her side into its rifle mode shooting as well. The Shadow Woman managed to block very shot and summoned several blazing circles beneath the group. Acting quickly, Naruto turned towards Ruby, grabbed her, and jumped back to avoid the attack while the woman forward rolled herself away from the explosion. They then looked up to see the hatch close on the bullhorn as it flew away into the night sky, so she employed Roman's services. That's anything but good, Naruto thought as he watched the craft disappear into the horizon. Who was that? Ruby wondered as Naruto let go of her. A couple of pain in the asses is what they are, Naruto responded. You there, boy, what's your name? The woman asked, looking at Naruto with a stern gaze. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Or you probably know me as the Kitsune, Naruto answered as the woman nodded her head in recognition. And you are? I'm Glinda Goodwitch. The woman introduced herself, known as Glinda. Ruby suddenly went fangirl on Glinda. You're a huntress. Can I have your autograph? She gushed, making Naruto's sweat drop. Only you rubes. Naruto sighed, shaking his head. A little while later at Vale Police Department, interrogation room, Naruto and Ruby were seated at a table underneath a bright light in a small dark room, with Naruto looking a little peeved and Ruby was looking ashamed, with Glinda pacing around. The table was scroll in the form of a tablet computer. I hope you two realize that your actions tonight will not be taken lightly, Glinda chastised. You both put yourselves and others in great danger. They started it, Ruby said defensively. Yeah, we were just minding our business when Torchwick happened to be robbing the place and his goons threatened us, Naruto snapped. And just how do you know someone like Torchwick? Glinda asked. I ran into him a couple of times while doing business for a few clients, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Clients? Does May know about this? Or the businesses you be doing? Ruby said in confusion. Shush! Naruto whispered, elbowing Ruby in her sides, making her yelp. Regardless, if it were up to me, you'd be sent home, Glinda continued. With a pat on the back, Ruby looked happy and Naruto rolled his eyes. And a slap on the wrist. Without hesitation, she lashed out at the desk with her riding crop, causing Ruby to retract her hands from the table while Naruto scoffed. But there is someone here who would like to meet you both, Glinda said, reluctantly moving out of the doorway to reveal a man coming in with a mug of coffee and a plate of cookies. He is a middle-aged man with tousled gray hair, thin brown eyes with shaded glass spectacles, pale white skin, black eyebrows, and wears a dark green scarf with a small, purple, cross-shaped emblem on it, an unzipped black suit over a black button vest with a green undershirt underneath, black trousers, shoes, and long dark green pants. Ruby rose, he said, leaning towards her to look at her face. You have silver eyes. Ruby stuttered, looking confused. The man then turned his attention to Naruto. And Naruto Uzumaki the Kitsune. I heard great accomplishments from you. I must say I'm impressed. Thank you, Naruto said as they shook hands. Now then, on to business. Where do you two learn to do this? The man asked as Glinda's tablet showed Naruto and Ruby's fighting. Signal Academy. Naruto and Ruby answered. They taught you to use one of the most dangerous weapons ever designed? The man asked skeptically. Of course. We designed them ourselves. Naruto said, raising his arm up and showing off Storm Blitz in its gauntlet mode. Some of us did have one teacher in particular though, he said looking at Ruby. The man put the cookies on the table in front of the duo with Ruby immediately shoveling all of them in her mouth. It's just that I've seen one other side wielder of Ruby's skill before. A dusty old crow. That's my uncle. Ruby mumbled through her full mouth, making Naruto smack her on the back of her head. That's Ruby's Uncle Crow. He's a teacher at Signal. He mostly took Ruby under his wing, and there are the results, Naruto said nodding towards the tablet that was repeating the footage of the fight. So I've noticed. The man said as he sat down. And what are two islanders of an adorable girl and a busy faunus like yourselves doing at a school designed to train warriors? Well, I want to be a huntress, Ruby said, and I want to follow in my mom's footsteps to become a huntsman. Naruto said, so you two want to slay monsters? The man inquired, and protect Remnant, and the forces that conspire against it. Naruto replied, yeah. I only have 2 more years of training left at Signal before I go to Beacon while Naruto here is going this year. Ruby said as Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. See, my sister's starting there this year too and she's trying to become a huntress, and I'm trying to become a huntress cause I want to help people. My parents always taught us to help others so I thought well, I might as well make a career out of it hee. I mean, we knows it's the job of the police, but huntsman and huntress, and just so much more romantic and exciting and cool and really, gosh, you know, Ruby ranted with growing enthusiasm. Naruto's sweat dropped as Ruby flipped out at the last part, while the man and Glinda studied her for a spell. Do either of you know exactly who I am? The man asked. You're Professor Ashbin. You're the headmaster at Beacon Academy. Naruto said as Ruby managed to calm down. The man known as Ashbin smiled at them. Hello, nice to meet you. Naruto and Ruby greeted him. So I know Naruto's going, but what about you, Ruby? You want to come to my school? Ashbin asked. More than anything, Ruby said. You bet she does. Naruto said. Ashbin grinned at Glinda, who looked disapproving and rolled her eyes before he turned back to the duo. Well, okay. Ashbin said. Naruto and Ruby smiled at one another as they high-fived. The next day, oh, I can't believe my baby sister is going to Beacon with me and Naruto. A young girl shouted around Naruto's age with bright gold blonde hair that flowed down her back in a loose and messy manner with a few locks sticking out along with an ahogue. Lilac eyes, pale white skin, a curvy, athletic figure with large D-cup breasts, and wearing a tan with gold trim vest with puffy sleeves and black cuffs over a yellow low-cut crop top with her symbol on it. A black crest that resembled a burning heart, an orange scarf around her neck, fingerless gloves with her weapons ember celica that was yellow bracelets around her wrists inactive, black short shorts with a brown belt with a buckle, a pouch, and a small banner-like object. The same burning heart crest appeared on this banner, except golden in color, a white symmetrical backskirt, and brown boots with orange socks of different lengths with a bandana wrapped around her left boot. This was a grown young Xiaolong and she was currently hugging Ruby with Naruto beside them. This is the best day ever, please stop. Ruby groaned, gasping for air. You know she has a right to be happy after what we did last night. Naruto chuckled. Exactly. Young said, releasing Ruby. I'm so proud of you. Really guys, it was nothing. Ruby mumbled. What do you mean? It was incredible. Everyone at Beacon's going to think you and Naruto are the bee's knees. Yang smiled. I don't want to be the bee's knees, okay? I don't want to be any kind of knees. I just want to be a normal girl with normal knees. Ruby protested. That ship sailed the moment we decided to become hunters. Where's this coming from anyway? I thought you of all people would be excited about this. Naruto commented. Of course I'm excited, Ruby sighed and scratched the back of her head. I moved ahead 2 years. I don't want people to think I'm special or anything. Ruby Naruto frowned as Yang gave her sister a one-armed hug. But you are special, she assured her. To us, that is. Their attention was suddenly drawn to the news feed on VNN, Vale News Network, playing nearby. The robbery was led by nefarious criminal Roman Torchwick, who continues to evade authorities. If you have any information on his whereabouts, please contact the Vale Police Department. Back to you, Lisa. Thank you, Cyril. In other news, this Saturday's Fauna civil rights protest turned dark when members of the White Fang disrupted the ceremony the once peaceful organization has now disrupted. The news feed was suddenly cut off as a hologram of Glinda Goodwitch replaced it. Hello, and welcome to Beacon. My name is Glinda Goodwitch. You are among a privileged few who have received the honor of being selected to attend this prestigious academy. Our world is experiencing an incredible time of peace, and as future huntsmen and huntresses, it is your duty to uphold it. You have demonstrated the courage needed for such a task, and now it is our turn to provide you with the knowledge and the training to protect our world. As the hologram disappeared, everyone looked out the window to see the amazing view. Look, you can see Signal from up here, Ruby exclaimed as Naruto and Yang joined her as they looked down upon the town of Vale and the island of Patch in the far-off distance. I guess home isn't too far after all. Beacon's our home now. Yang said as Naruto put his arms around the girl's shoulders. And it's gonna be a hell of a 4 years. Especially with the three of us together. Naruto added with the girls nodding and leaning into him, leading the three to have a peaceful moment. The three then heard a passenger groaning and hunched over near the window, and then made a beeline to the back of the ship where the restrooms are. Well, I guess the view isn't for everyone. Yang commented as she rolled her eyes. It was a nice moment, while it lasted. Ruby said as Naruto discreetly stepped away from the two. I wonder who we're gonna meet. Ugh, I just hope they're better than the vomiting hunter. Yang grumbled. Yeah, about that, Yang. The vomiting hunter threw up on you when they passed by. Naruto said, pointing at her boots. Eh? Oh, Yang, gross. There's puke on your shoe. Ruby shouted and jumped away from her. Gross, 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 gross. Get away. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away from me. Get away from me. Naruto shook his head as Ruby tried to run away from Yang, who was just trying to go to the restroom to clean her footwear, and looked out the window to see Beacon Academy coming up in the distance. Despite everything that's happened last night with Roman Torchwick and her, I'm looking forward to Beacon. Naruto muttered, crossing his arms, still looking out the window. He was brought out of his thoughts when his scroll beeped, making him pull it out and answering it. Hello? Naruto asked. Hey sweetie, it's me. Mei said on the other line. Hey mom, what's up? Just calling to check on you. Hoping you made it to Beacon. Yeah, I'm coming on it right now. I also heard from Taeyang, who was told by Ashbin about what you and Ruby did last night. Yeah, it was a mess. With criminals like Roman Torchwick, I could only assume. So what are you going to do while I'm at Beacon? You know I have my job over there at Signal, so I'll be busy with Crow and Taeyang. Yeah, I guess. Make sure you leave the best impression on Ashbin and Beacon, you hear me? Yes ma'am. And whoever messes with you, give them a good prank only we foxes and do. Will do. Good. I gotta go, I love you. I love you too. And with that, Naruto hung up and looked into the sky, wondering what was awaiting him. Chapter 2. Welcome to Beacon. As soon as the airship landed at Beacon Academy, Naruto, Ruby, and Yang got off and started walking towards the site of the legendary hunter training facility. So here we are. It looks bigger in person. Naruto must. Got that right? The view from Vale's got nothing on this. Yang smiled. Suddenly Ruby squealed, going all chibi form, seeing the equipment the other cadets of Beacon were carrying. Oh, Naruto, sis. That kid's got a collapsible staff. And she's got a fire sword. Ruby gushed, scooting away to get a closer look, only for Naruto and Yang to pull her back, turning her back to normal. Oh. Oh, easy there, Ruby. They're only weapons. Yang chided. Just weapons? They're an extension of ourselves. They're a part of us. Oh, they're so cool. Ruby swooned in excitement. Well, why can't you swoon over your own weapon? Aren't you happy with her? Naruto asked, making Ruby hug her red side sniper weapon happily. Of course I'm happy with Crescent Rose. I just really like seeing new ones. It's like meeting new people, but better, Ruby mumbled at the last part. Ruby, come on. Yang said, playfully pushing her sister's hood down. Why don't you try and make some new friends of your own? But why would I need friends when I have you two? Ruby asked as she pulled her hood back down. You two are all I need here. Naruto frowned at that while Yang just sighed. Naruto had a feeling that Ruby's still feeling the effects of those incidents that got her the short end of the stick, such as bullying when she was still at Signal. Rubes, just think of Beacon as a fresh new start. Your time at Beacon will be better at Signal. Naruto encouraged, patting her on the back. Plus you might make new friends, and one of those friends may be your future partner. Future partner? Ruby asked, confused. You'll find out soon enough. Naruto told her, having been informed by Mei about Beacon Academy's style of initiation. It'll be fun. Do you know what he's talking about, Yang? Ruby asked, looking at her sister. Well, actually, my friends are here now, gataga catch up kekiabi. Yang said quickly as she rushed past Naruto and Ruby to join a crowd of people that were heading up to the school. Yang! Naruto shouted and went after her, leaving Ruby spinning and dizzy-eyed from the sudden departure of Naruto and Yang. Wait, where are you going? Are we supposed to go to our dorms? Where are our dorms? Do we have dorms? I don't know what I'm doing, Ruby moaned, reeling as she fell backwards into a luggage cart, sending the luggage flying. With Naruto and Yang. Yang, hold up! Naruto grabbed the back of Yang's scarf to get her to stop as the crowd she blended in with went on ahead. What was that about? You left Ruby all alone like that? Naruto said, crossing his arms. You and I both know that words aren't enough to get Ruby to make new friends here at Beacon. Yang countered, pointing at the direction where Ruby is. I know that, but you got to remember Ruby isn't so good with people. Besides, there's a chance that she'll snap like all those previous times she came under pressure. The temper she inherited from me has been kind of a bad influence. Naruto replied, sighing. Ruby will be fine. I think it's a good thing that she got your temper from you to defend herself. Besides, we're always nearby. Yang said with confidence. I guess. Naruto said. By the way, when were you going to tell me that you could have a harem? Yang asked, smirking mischievously. Damn, Naruto muttered, knowing he was busted. After being transported to this world, Kami still keeps in touch with Naruto every now and then in his dreams. Also, apparently Kami told Naruto he was okay to have a harem from Sakura and Hinata. Something about how they knew he was going to get lady trouble in the future. How did you find out? Naruto wondered. You remember last week when you and Mei slept over our house? Well, when I was sleeping beside you I found myself in your dream with Kami, who I still can't believe God is a woman. Power to us women, by the way, Yan said, making Naruto snort in amusement. I heard how you talked about how you loved your new life compared to the old one you had, and that Kami said you could have a harem to fill the love you needed. I still don't get how you get into my dreams. Naruto sighed. I was going to tell you, but, hey, I get it. Yan said softly, placing her fingers on Naruto's lips, silencing him. Aside from Mei, I'm the only other person you told about you coming to Remnant for a new life. She then grinned. But just so you know, I should get first dibs. Why should you get first dibs? Why not Ruby? After all, I became friends with you both at the same time. Naruto challenged, smirking. And besides, it's not like you're my girlfriend. I wouldn't mind if Ruby got to you first. Yan smiled. As for being your girlfriend, that has yet to be seen. Just then an explosion went off in the distance. That's where we left Ruby. Naruto noted as the two looked back. I should go check on her. I'll see you both at the assembly. Yan waved as Naruto turned and went back to where the explosion and Ruby was at. Moments ago, after Ruby fell into the cart full of luggage. What are you doing? A angry voice demanded as the owner of the voice stood over Ruby, angry that she knocked over her things, even if it was an accident. It was a young girl who was Naruto and Yang's age, but a few inches taller than Ruby, with long white hair pulled back and an off-center ponytail shifted to the right by a tiara-like ponytail holder, ice blue eyes with a crooked scar down her left eye, a pale white complexion, a slender figure with a A-cup bust, and wearing a pale blue bolero jacket with inside of the jacket a bright red with a snowflake symbol on the back over a thigh-length dress with a combat skirt, an apple-shaped necklace along with a pair of thin, rectangular earrings, white-heeled mid-calf wedge boots, and a small bag on the back of her dress. Her weapon was rapier that looked to have a revolver-style chamber in it on her left hip. Sorry, Ruby said quickly as she got up and tried to help the girl's servants clean up the mess. Sorry? Do you have any idea of the damage you could have caused? The white-haired girl said in an offended tone. Ruby didn't answer as she picked up a case and was about to put it back on the cart when the girl snatched it away from her. Give me that. This is dust, mined and purified from the Shni quarry, the girl said haughtily, opening it to revealed vials of various colored twinkling dust. I can see that, Ruby started to say, but was interrupted by the girl. What are you, brain dead? The girl asked, not hearing what Ruby just said, as she got out a vial of red dust and shut the case. Dust. Fire. Water. Lightning. Energy. I know, the Ruby coughed as the red dust poured into her face due to the girl's shaking of the vial in her face. Are you even listening to me? Is any of this sinking in? What have you got to say for yourself? The girl asked. I see, Cho. Because of the dust being senseless shaken in her face by the white-haired girl, Ruby let out an uncontrollable sneeze that reacted with the dust in her face, creating a huge explosion of flame, snowflakes, and electricity right onto the white-haired girl, with the vial she was holding sent flying and landing right at the feet of a girl who's looked the same age as the white-haired girl. The girl in question has long, wavy black hair with a black ribbon tied in the form of a bow, yellow eyes that had light purple eyeshadow on the corner of her eyes, a light olive complexion like the other two girls, a slender figure with a C-cup bust, and wearing a black button vest with coattails with a white sleeveless undershirt that exposes part of her midriff with white shorts connected to her shirt, a black detached scarf-like collar around her neck, black ribbons on both her arms with a detached sleeve on her right arm and a silver band on her left wrist, black stockings with purple fade at the end. On the side of her legs were a silver lion head symbol that looked like they're on fire, and black low-heeled boots. Strapped to her back was a metal magnetic weapon holder that held her weapon that had a sword with a pistol-like handle inserted into a cleaver sheath. She picks it up and scowls upon noticing the Shni Dust Company logo on the side as she reads from a book and looks over at the scene, where the white-haired, now covered in soot, was now going full-on alphabet mode. Unbelievable. This is exactly the kind of thing I was talking about. The white-haired girl shrieked angrily as the soot on her quickly disappeared. I'm really, really sorry. Ruby apologized, embarrassed, poking her fingers together, but Weiss continued to snap at her, causing her embarrassment to be overridden by anger. Ugh, you complete dolt. What are you even doing here? Aren't you a little young to be attending Beacon? How can someone as clumsy as you even get into this school? The girl said, placing her hands on her hips. Why, you, Ruby growled. This isn't your ordinary combat school. It's not just sparring and practice, you know. We're here to fight monsters, so watch where you're going, the girl said, crossing her arms and looking away from Ruby, who was about to snap. Hey, she said she was sorry. But then again, an apology is never enough for a rich brat like you, Weiss Shni. The girl identified as Weiss flinched when he heard the familiar voice and yelped when she saw Naruto standing behind her. Naruto! Ruby squealed in joy at him coming to her rescue before she snapped herself. Naruto? Weiss screamed, pointing at Naruto. You can't be here. Why are you here? Isn't it obvious? I'm a new student as well, just like you and Ruby, Naruto stated. Though I am surprised to see you here. Did that kidnapping attempt I rescued you from years ago inspired you to become a huntress? He asked, intrigued. That's none of your business. Weiss stuttered and looked away, crossing her arms. And I'll have you know I'm not the same girl I was when you saved me. I can tell. Naruto chuckled, making Weiss blush in embarrassment. Naruto, do you know her? Is she a princess? Ruby asked. Her? Hardly. Naruto snorted. She's an heiress, actually. The black-haired girl spoke up as she approached the group. Weiss Schnee, heiress to the Schnee Dust Company, one of the largest producers of energy propellant in the world. Finally, some proper recognition. Weiss said smugly in a moment of finally being recognized while Naruto rolled his eyes. The same company infamous for its controversial labor forces and questionable business partners, ever since her father took the reins. The black-haired girl finished with a light glare. They're also the same company who pay faunus workers less than minimum wage for something that a human would get paid fairly well to do recently, Naruto said in a snooty manner, as Weiss got angry again while Ruby chuckled. So I hear from someone that you and Atlas was going to the next head of the Schnee company after your pops who smeared it to ground by escalating the conflict with the white fawn. But we shouldn't holding our breath since it's you. What's that supposed to mean? Weiss snarled as Naruto took to the bottle from the black-haired girl and examined it. You know what I mean. Winter once told me that you wanted to be a better person, but given your reaction with my friend Ruby here, you're failing. You continue on like this, and you'll be all alone with no one to blame but yourself like on the day I saved you, Naruto said casually as he crushed the vial of dust with his bare hands, infuriating Weiss. Wow, how dare you, the nerve of! Weiss shouted, getting in Naruto's face. Yes, Snow Angel. Naruto smirked as brushing his fingers under her chin. Ugh. Weiss growled, blushing a bit as she stormed off. I promise I'll make this up to you, Ruby called out before sighing and looked at Naruto. You certainly have a way of making friends, Naruto, she noted before turning to the black-haired girl. So what's... But the girl was already walking away from the pair. I'm not having a good first day, aren't I? Ruby mumbled as she rubbed her hair. Don't worry about it. You just ran afoul with the wrong kind of person, Naruto said, patting her on the back. Wait here for a bit. There's someone I want to catch up with, he said, taking off. Okay. Ruby waved as Naruto left, and she collapsed backwards onto the ground. Welcome to Beacon. Naruto caught up to the black-haired girl. Kind of rude not to say hi to me back there, kitty, he said, appearing in front of her, smiling. Even after all these years you still insist on calling me that, she said in indignation, while smiling softly. Well duh, it's your nickname. Though why do you insist on wearing that bow? Hiding what you are will make it worse if someone find out and spills what you are, Naruto remarked as the girl's bow twitched when he pushed it away to reveal black cat ears on top of her head. I'm not like you, Naruto. You don't care how people treat you as long as you're staying true to yourself. I'm not as strong as you, the girl said sadly, fixing the bow to hide her ears. But you are strong enough to be here at Beacon and not with the White Fang, Naruto pointed out, placing a hand on her shoulder as their eyes met. I guess. The girl agreed, placing her hand over his. Remember how we met Blake Belladonna? Naruto smirked. How could I forget Naruto Uzumaki? The girl identified as Blake grinned. I was just a little kitten when I came across a little fox fighting off against a large group of Grimm in an abandoned town without a weapon like an insane person, but only to see you take them down with so little effort. Then we became friends and saw each other on a regular basis till you had to leave with the White Fang to relocate to a new base, Naruto said, taking his hand away. I had to. Even if I didn't want to. Blake frowned sadly. Yeah, 'cause Adam said so. I bet he's still a, Naruto said. Yeah, especially since he embraced the news ways of the White Fang. It's become a shadow of what it once was when I was young, Blake said. So you're a renegade now? Naruto asked. Yes. They're sure to come after me, but I made sure that they won't find me here, Blake responded. You made the right choice, kitty. And hey, if they do come by here looking for you, I'll give them a beating they'll never forget, Naruto said, raising his fist up. Thanks, Naruto. That's why I'll be dedicating my life to becoming a huntress. It's why I'm here, Blake said. At least we're attending Beacon together. Naruto smiled. True. Blake smiled. I should get going. But I'll see you later, okay? Sure, Naruto said, moving out of her way as he watched Blake walk off with a sway in her hips in her rear. Dat bella booty. He smirked. Naruto then turned around to get back to Ruby to see that she was still laying down on the ground. You know you didn't have to lay down there and wait for me, right? Naruto asked. I didn't feel like getting up after I humiliated myself, Ruby said. Come on, Rubes. Naruto stuck out his hand for Ruby to grab. Thanks. Ruby grabbed Naruto's hand as he pulled her up on her feet. Sometimes you're more kind than Yang is, she pouted. You know I'm always going to care for you, Ruby. Naruto smiled, pulling her in for a hug as she hugged him back. I also know by the time you come out of Beacon you'll be an awesome huntress. Thank you, Naruto. Ruby smiled softly, hugging Naruto tight. Anytime, Naruto said as they separate. Now how about we head on over to the assembly? He said, jabbing his thumb backwards to the amphitheater where the last few people were heading. Sounds good. Ruby nodded as they made their way to the building. When they got there they saw that the amphitheater was filled to the brim with people. Ruby! Naruto! Over here! Yang called up to them over the other crowd's voices. I saved you to a spot. We're coming. Naruto shouted as he and Ruby went over to her. How's your first day going, little sister? Yang asked happily. You mean since you and Naruto ditched me and I exploded? Ruby accused. Yikes. Meltdown already? Yang asked. No, I literally exploded a hole in front of the school. And there was some fire, and I think some ice? Ruby said, placing her hand on her chin in thought. Are you being sarcastic? Yang asked in a mocking tone. I wish. Ruby scoffed, exclaiming. I tripped over some crabby girl's luggage. And then she yelled at me while shaking that fire dust in my face. And then, I sneezed and exploded, and then she yelled again. And I felt really, really bad and I just wanted her to stop yelling at me. And I nearly lost it until Naruto came. She finished her rant. You! Wise shouted, coming up behind her, causing Ruby to jump into Naruto's open arms in a bridal position. Oh God, it's happening again! Ruby cried as she held on tighter to Naruto's dark orange hoodie. Come to bother, Ruby? Don't you have anything better to do, Snow Angel? Naruto asked in amusement. Shut up! Weiss yelled, placing her hands on her hips before she narrowed her eyes at Ruby. She's lucky we weren't blown off the side of the cliff. Oh my God, you really exploded. Yang said in shock. It was an accident. Ruby said to Yang before Naruto set her down and turned to Weiss. It was an accident. What's this? She asked when Weiss held up a pamphlet in her face titled Dust for Dummies and Other Inadequate Individuals, with a picture of a man holding a dust crystal in his hand and a puzzled look on his face. The Schnee Dust Company is not responsible for any injuries or damages sustained while operating a Schnee Dust Company product. Although not mandatory, the Schnee family highly encourages their customers to read and familiarize themselves with easy-to-follow guide to dust application and practice in the field. Weiss said from memorizing the pamphlet. Ruby said, looked at her with blank eyes. You really want to start making things up to me? Weiss asked. Absolutely? Ruby asked before the pamphlet was forced into her hands. Read this and don't ever speak to me. Weiss ordered. Look, sounds to me like you two just got off on the wrong foot. Yang said, rubbing the back of her head. Why don't you start over and try to be friends? Okay, yeah. Great idea, sis. Ruby said excitedly and held out her hand to Weiss. Hello, Weiss. I'm Ruby. Wanna hang out? She asked to the irate heiress. We could go shopping for school supplies. Yeah. And we can paint our nails and try on clothes and talk about cute boys, like tall, blonde, and scraggly over here, Weiss said sarcastically as she jabbed her thumb at Naruto, who just rolled his eyes. Wow, really? Ruby asked hopefully, but faltered when Weiss' kind smile turned to a glare. No. She said plainly. You know you're not better than everyone else as you think, Weiss. So if I were you, I'd check that attitude at the door. Naruto suggested. Humph. Weiss said, crossing her arms and looking away from them. She so has a long way to go to being a people person. Naruto thought, deadpanning. Ashpin approached a microphone at the front of the stage with Glinda besides him, and cleared his throat, catching the attention of all of the gathered students while pushing up his glasses. I'll keep this brief. You have traveled here today in search of knowledge to hone your craft and acquire new skills, and when you have finished, you plan to dedicate your life to the protection of the people. But I look amongst you, and all I see is wasted energy, in need of purpose, direction. You assume knowledge will free you of this, but your time at this school will prove that knowledge can only carry you so far. It is up to you to take the first step. With those words said, Ashpin walked away as Glinda stepped up to the podium to talk. You will gather in the ballroom tonight. Tomorrow, your initiation begins. Be ready. You are dismissed. He seemed kind of off. Yang remarked. It's almost like he wasn't even there. Ruby agreed, but he wasn't wrong. There's more to being a hunter than simple street knowledge and skill. Naruto commented. Like you would know. Weiss scoffed. I've been taught this kind of stuff longer than you, Snow Angel. Naruto grinned. Stop calling me that. Weiss demanded. Hours later in the ballroom at nighttime, after dinner in the cafeteria, the new students retired to the ballroom, where sleeping bags littered the floor as everyone was turning in to get rested for the rumored initiation tomorrow. Everyone has changed out of his or her hunter gear and into their pajamas. Ruby was in hers, wearing a black tank top with a heart-shaped Beowulf design on the chest and long white pants with pink rose designs while writing in her journal, while Yang's wearing was an orange tank top with her symbol on the front and brown boy shorts, crashes next to her. It's like a big slumber party. Yang said joyfully. I don't think Dad would approve of all the boys though. Ruby remarked, not looking up from her journal. I know I do. Yang purred as she scanned the room. Various muscular guys were wearing only sleep pants of various colors and designs and flexing their muscles for the women who might be watching them. She then spotted Naruto to see him wearing a pair of black shorts with a red swirl on his left leg. His legs were toned and seemed to twitch with his every movement. His chest was well defined by an Adonis-like musculature along with a six-pack. His chest also bore several scars, indicative of his dedication to his training and giving him an aura of a warrior. Yang sighed longingly as she gazed upon the body of her and her sister's best friend and a good friend of their entire family. You don't know what you're missing, Ruby, she said, causing Ruby to look up from her journal to see Yang's gaze on Naruto and his state of undress. A small trickle of blood escaped her nose, which she quickly wiped away, making Yang chuckle at this. Well, at least it's good to know you still have a healthy interest in Naruto, sis. Yang was then hit by a pillow courtesy of Ruby. Shut up, Ruby said harshly. What's that? Yang asked, recovering from the pillow's blow, as she looked down at what Ruby was writing. A letter to the gang back at Signal. Ruby replied. I promised to tell them all about Beacon and how things are going. Ah, that's so good. Yang remarked, cooing. Shut up. Ruby replied, hitting Yang with another pillow. I didn't get to take my friends with me to school and it's weird not knowing anyone here. She mumbled. What about me? I'm here. Naruto said, laying down beside Ruby, smiling. Yeah, Naruto's here. That's a 100% increase. Yang said cheerfully. I'm pretty sure Weiss counts as a negative friend. Ruby said sadly as she laid back, putting her hands behind her head. Back to zero. There's no such thing as negative friends. Yang said. You just made one enemy. This time a third pillow in the shape of a dog hit Yang in the face, knocking her down. Listen, Ruby, it's just been one day. Trust me, you'll make some new friends in no time. Naruto said, poking her sides, making Ruby giggle and Yang smile. The three then noticed a candle being lit nearby. Looking towards the source, they found Blake wearing a black yukata with gray and white as sub-colors sitting against the wall, reading a book. That girl, Ruby whispered, remembering her from earlier. You know her? Yang asked after she recovered from the third pillow blow. Ruby doesn't, but I do. That's Blake. She and I are old friends. Naruto answered. She saw what happened this morning, but left before I could say anything. Ruby commented, giving Yang an idea. Well, now's your chance. Yang declared, grabbing Ruby's arm and lifting her up. Wait. What are you doing? Ruby yelped in protest as Yang dragged her over to Blake. Oh boy, Naruto chuckled and followed them. Blake continued to read her book before she heard noises, and looked up over her book to see Yang dragging Ruby over to her with Naruto following. Hello. Yang greeted in a singing voice before letting go of Ruby, who hid behind her and Naruto. I believe you guys may know each other? Hey Blake. Naruto greeted with a grin. Hey Naruto. Blake greeted back before looking at Ruby. Aren't you that girl that exploded? Yeah? My name's Ruby. Ruby offered a hand to shake with Blake, but she just looked at before Ruby pulled it back. But you can just call me Crater, she faltered, embarrassed with what she was going to say. Actually, you can just call me Ruby. Okay. Blake said as he went back to her book. What are you doing? Yang asked in a loud whisper. I don't know, help me. Ruby hissed back before going back to smiling at Blake. So you're Blake? Naruto told us. Yang said, attempting to start a conversation. Yes. You're well informed. Blake said while sighing at being distracted again. And you? I'm Yang, Ruby's older sister and Naruto's best girl pal. Yang introduced herself. I like your bow, thanks, Blake said with her eye twitching as she was now a little irritated at being interrupted again from reading. It goes great with your pajamas. Yang said. Right, Blake said, going back to her book. Nice night, don't you think? Yang asked. Yes, Blake said, glancing up. It's lovely. Almost as lovely as this book, she hinted. That I will continue to read, Ruby, and Yang just stared at her blankly while Naruto had to bite the inside of his cheek to stop himself from laughing from picking up the subtle hints that Blake wanted to be left alone. As soon as you leave. Blake finished as she looked back to her book. Yeah, this girl's a lost cause. Yang said, looking to Ruby, making Naruto snort. What's it about? Ruby suddenly asked. Huh? Blake asked, looking up surprised. Your book. Ruby clarified. Does it have a name? Well, it's about a man with two souls, each fighting for control over his body. Blake revealed, becoming a little more open to the others. Oh yeah, that's real lovely. Yang stated sarcastically, rolling her eyes. Reminds me of the times me and Kurama fought over control of my body. Naruto thought, thinking of his nine-tailed furry friend. I love books. Yang used to read to me every night before bed. Stories of heroes and monsters, they're one of the reasons I want to be a huntress. Ruby explained. And why is that? Hoping you'll live happily ever after? Blake questioned. Well, I'm hoping we all will. As a girl, I wanted to be just like those heroes in the books, someone who fought for what was right, and protected people who couldn't protect themselves. Ruby said with determination. That's very ambitious for a child. Blake said, lowering her book slightly with a small smile on her face, which soon turned into a frown. Unfortunately, the real world isn't the same as a fairy tale. Well, that's why we're here. To make it better. Ruby tried to reassure her, but Blake didn't look convinced, which was only noticed by Naruto. Oh, I am so proud of my baby sister. Yang squealed and grabbed Ruby in a bear hug into the air. Cut it out. Ruby cried, her feet kicking out before punching Yang in the face, causing the two sisters to brawl into a dust cloud of fighting limbs and flying stars. Blake watched with an amused smile. Well, Ruby, Yang, it's a pleasure to What in the world is going on over here? Weiss demanded as she came storming over to the group. She was wearing a faded bluish sleeping gown with short sleeves and white trimmings with her family crest on the upper right chest and her hair down. Don't you realize some of us are trying to sleep? She asked before seeing who was making all the noise. Oh, not you again! Weiss and Yang shouted at the sight of each other. You just said people were trying to sleep, and here you are shouting. Naruto mused. Shut up, Uzumaki. Wise screeched as Ruby quickly placed her finger on her lips. Sure. Guys, she's right. People are trying to sleep, Ruby said as the fox faunus and the heiress narrowed their eyes or glared daggers at each other before Ruby's words drew Weiss' attention to her. Oh, now you're on my side. Weiss snapped. I was always on your side. Ruby countered angrily. Yeah, what's your problem with my sister? She's only trying to be nice. Yan asked. Is it because of Naruto? They're both hazards to my health, Weiss said, stomping her foot on the ground. As they spoke, Naruto gave Blake a look, and she nodded. He reached for the candles and began to lift them up before blowing them out, causing the entire room to be sunken in darkness. The next morning, as the sun rose up the next morning, Naruto's eyes opened, and he slowly tried to sit up only to discover he couldn't. Looking down, he saw that Yang, Ruby and somehow Blake were all sleeping on him, Blake and Yang on both his arms and Ruby on his chest. Well, this is a fine way to wake up. Naruto chuckled. Wake up, lazy bun. It's morning. It's morning. It's morning. It's morning. The sound of a girl's voice sang, making Naruto look around to see where it was coming from. But the cause of Naruto looking around caused Blake to stir. Ugh, she groaned as she slowly sat up, rubbing her eyes tiredly. She looked to her right and blushed upon seeing Naruto in his compromised position with Yang and Ruby. Morning, Blake. Naruto waved with his free hand. You mind helping me with her? He gestured to Ruby. I don't want to wake her up. As sure. Blake mumbled and gently lifted up Ruby, who snuggled into the girl's embrace before Blake gently set her down on her sleeping bag. Now free of his chest, Naruto gently used his arm to lift up Yang's head and put a pillow under it before he moved his arm out of the way and had Yang's head fall on the pillow. Well, I'm free. Naruto groaned, stretching his arm up, and he cracked his neck before he gave Blake a smile. I owe you one, kitty. It's fine, Foxy. Blake smiled before raising an eyebrow. How exactly did we end up like that anyway? Hell if I know. Naruto shrugged. All I know is I fell asleep in a dark room, woke up with 3 cute girls on me. Not a bad way to wake up, by the way. He chuckled. With you I'm sure it is. Blake smirked, rolling her eyes before getting up. I'm going to go get ready. Naruto watched her walk off, heading into the restroom. I see you. Naruto turned his head to see Yang smirking at him. Looking at Blake like you want her. Oh, how very sneaky of you, Naruto. Oh, please. Naruto rolled his eyes. What? You're allowed to have a harem, right? You get to go after girls you want. Yang said, rising up. Only if they want to be with me. I get to restore my family's clan by doing this, as well as get the love I so deserve. Naruto reminded her. I know. You deserve it after being in a war in your own world and losing everything you hold dear. Yang said. Wah! Ruby shouted, rising up before she sped to the restroom. I'm late. I'm late. I'm so late. At least she's up. Naruto must. Yeah, unlike the times we had to wake her up to go to signal. Yang remarked. Naruto and Yang made their way into the restroom to brush there with Ruby. While they were doing that, Naruto heard the same girl from earlier, chatting animatedly with her friend. I can't believe we've been at Beacon for a full 24 hours. Not that I thought we'd get kicked out or anything, I mean, you're the perfect student and I'm me. But it's just crazy, you know? Man, that girl's energetic. Naruto mumbled. You think she's on anything? Yang teased. Probably. Ruby said, spitting some water out in the sink. Naruto went to the shower to get himself ready for the day. A while later, Naruto exited the shower, changed into his hunter outfit, and exited the restroom after seeing that Yang and Ruby were in the shower as well. After he finished cleaning up his, Ruby, and Yang's area and rolled up the sleeping bags, he heard the same voice again chatting with her friend. We've been friends for so long. What are the odds we'd still be together? Well, not together, not that I'm not saying that you're not beautiful. You are beautiful, but that'd just be weird, right? She sounds like Ruby, only more chatty. Naruto thought as he tied up the sleeping bags. In the cafeteria, and she's still going. She's been talking nonstop since this morning. Naruto muttered in shock as he spared a glance at the talkative girl and her friend, the latter cutting into her pancakes. The talkative girl had short orange hair, turquoise eyes, pale white skin, an athletic figure with a C-cup bust, and wearing mix-and-match clothing that consists of a collared black vest that has her symbol on the back that was a pink circle with a white hammer on it having a pink lightning bolt going over it with 2 layers of red and light blue clothing under it, a white sleeveless top with a tiny heart-shaped cutout between her cleavage and collarbone with detached white sleeves, thin armor from the shoulder and neck and end at the waist, pink fingerless gloves, a mid-thigh length pink skirt with a light blue bow on the back, and pink and white shoes with pink lace. The friend who was listening to her talk is a bit taller than her friend, with long black hair tied into a ponytail that fell down her back with a magenta streak on the left side of her hair, magenta eyes, pale white skin, a slender figure with the same C-cup bust as her friend, and wearing a tight-fitting diagonally buttoned Chinese-style tailcoat dress of dark green silk and black and gold trimming with detached wide sleeves, thigh-high white socks, and high-heeled black shoes. Right. What was I thinking? But still, I hope we end up on the same team together, the Orangeette said before slurping down the rest of her pancake that was hanging from her mouth. We should come up with some sort of plan, to make sure we end up on the same team together. What if we bribe the headmaster? No, that won't work. He has the school already scouting potential targets? Yang smirked seeing Naruto eye the two girls. Not really. Just amazed at how that girl keeps talking. Naruto said, placing her head on his right hand. Also, I'm feeling a bit sorry for the silent girl. Yeah. Even I don't talk that much. Ruby agreed, wolfing down her pancakes. That's cause you're socially awkward. Yang teased. Bite me. Ruby frowned. As Yang continued to tease Ruby, Naruto felt as if he was being watched and looked towards the entrance, where he thought he saw a head of brown hair with rabbit ears whipped around the corner, and disappeared. What was that? Naruto thought, confused. In the locker room. I know. We'll have some sort of signal. Like a distress signal. Gasps, a secret signal so we can find each other in the forest. Can you imitate a sloth? The orange-haired girl asked the long black-haired girl with a magenta streak. Nora? The girl asked. Yes, Rin? She asked back. I don't think sloths make a lot of noise. Rin said, holding up her weapon Stormflower, a pair of green-colored SMGs with axe-like blade attached under the barrels, and made them disappear into her sleeves. That's why it's perfect. No one will suspect we're working together. Nora shouted excitedly. Come on, Nora. Let's go. Rin said, closing her locker, and walked off. Not together. Nora hummed humorously, following after Rin past Naruto, Ruby, and Yang at their gear lockers. I think sloths are too lazy to make noises. Naruto muttered, equipping Storm Blitz on his wrists and ankles. Wonder what those two are so worked up about. Ruby asked as she opened her locker to retrieve Crescent Rose. Oh, who knows? So, you seem awfully chipper right now. Yang noted as she finished equipping her Ember Celica and crossing her arms. Yep. No more awkward small talk or getting to know you stuff. Today, I get to let my sweetheart do the talking, how Ruby declared, and strokes Crescent Rose lovingly, sighing happily. Well, remember, Ruby, you're not the only one going through initiation. Yang said, uncrossing her arms and placing them on her hips. If you want to grow up, you're gonna have to meet new people and learn to work together. She told her, making Ruby growl in irritation. Ugh, you sound like Dad. Ruby complained, shoving Crescent Rose back into her locker and folding her arms. Okay, first of all, what does meeting new people have to do with fighting? And secondly, I don't need people to help me grow up. I drink milk. To answer your first question, it allows you to learn other people's strategies and incorporate them into your fighting style, so it becomes easier to fight grim and in tournaments. Naruto explained, placing Sunset Tempest on his back. As for the milk part, we can see that it does wonders for you, he remarked, looking at Ruby's breasts, making her blush in embarrassment. And what about when we form teams? Yang reminded her as Ruby then became nervous. I don't know, I'll just be on your team or Naruto's, or we all can be, Ruby replied without looking at them. Maybe you should try being on someone else's team, Rubes. Naruto suggested, rubbing the back of his head as Yang nervously grabbed her own hair and began stroking it with her hands. I'm sorry, Naruto, but are you and Yang implying that you both don't wish to be on the same team as me? Ruby asked angrily, glaring cutely at them. What? No. Of course we do. We just thought, I don't know, maybe it would help you break out of your shell. Yang explained hastily. What the dash? I don't need to break out of my shell. Ruby ranted furiously. That's absolutely ridiculous. As Yang tried to calm Ruby down, Naruto could have sworn he heard thunder and looked over his shoulder to see a thundercloud. Curious, he left the sisters and walked through it to find Weiss in a schemed pose and a manic smile making him sweat drop. Wonder what's going through her head? Naruto thought. Naruto? Said a cheery voice, making Naruto look behind him to find a familiar face. Is that you? It's a young woman almost as tall as Naruto, with red hair tied in a waist-length ponytail with a bronze circlet, green eyes with light green eyeshadow around the far upper corners of her eyes, pale white skin, a muscular figure with D-cup breasts, and wearing strapless leather split top under a low bronze v-neck, a large bronze gorget around her neck, a bronze bracelet and bracer on her left arm, and in brown shoulder-length gloves on her arms, a red belted miniskirt with a pouch with her symbol that was bronze circle with a spear on it, and brown short shorts and a red drapery around her back, thigh-high bronze greaves and boots. Pira? Nikos? Naruto smiled as he wrapped his arms around her waist and hugged her, with Pira wrapping her arms around his neck and hugged him back as they twirled around, laughing by a shell-shocked Weiss. Girl, what are you doing here? I decided to attend Beacon. Pira giggled as Naruto set her down. Wait, what? Weiss said, looking at the two of them. You're friends with him, Pira? Of course. Ever since the first time we fought in a tournament and ended in a tie, we've been keeping in touch with each other. Pira smiled. Well, after a certain incident we lost contact with one another. Naruto pointed out. Yeah, sorry about that. Ever since that happened, my father thought it would be best to dedicate myself to my training to that wouldn't happen again. Pira said, rubbing her arm. I understand. I'm not mad, just ticked we lost contact. Naruto said, placing his arms behind his head. I'm confused, you two fought in a tournament? Weiss asked. How come Naruto's name wasn't on the register? I was under my alias Kitsune. Naruto said. That was you? You broke her 4-win winning streak at the Mistral tournaments. Weiss said angrily before she remembered what he said. Wait a sec, you're the kitsune? Yep. Been having that code name ever since I was 12 years old. Naruto grinned. But you're the supposed huntsman who has been catching and stopping burglars, criminals, a few evil organizations, and being the top fighter in the tournaments. Weiss said. I do all that cause it's the right thing to do. Plus those villains I helped put away were complete scumbags. Not to mention I entered those tournaments to gain some sweet battle experience. Naruto said. You're just full of surprises, aren't you? Weiss asked. Impressed Snow Angel? Naruto smirked. Hardly. Weiss scoffed, turning her head, blushing a bit. Would all first-year students please report to Beacon Cliff for initiation? Again, all first-year students report to Beacon Cliff immediately. Glinda spoke through the intercom system. Guess it's time to head on out. Naruto said. Weiss walked off without sparing Naruto a second glance. She seems nice? Pyrrha asked. She has a nice side to her, she just hides it is all. Naruto said. And you know this how? Pyrrha wondered. I saw it the night I saved her from a kidnapping attempt years ago. Naruto said. You're always saving someone, aren't you? Pyrrha asked, smirking. I'm a hero. What you gonna do? Naruto shrugged, making Pyrrha punch his arm playfully. I'll see you around. It was nice meeting up again. Pyrrha said, walking off. Yeah. Naruto said. Well, look at you, lady killer. Yang smirked, walking up beside Naruto. Not a lady killer. Naruto smirked. You seem to be quite friendly with a lot of people, Naruto. Ruby said behind Yang. Only cause of my other name, Kitsune. Naruto said as the three made their way out the locker room. I still think you should tell me about all this. Ruby said. Yeah, right. If she found out about me being Kitsune since age 12, she would flip. Naruto said. She's a mother. It's kinda in her job description to flip. Yang pointed out. Whatever. I'm not telling her. Naruto said. Beacon Cliff. The Beacon Cliff is the site of the beginning of the Beacon initiation, where it overlooks the forest where the initiation will take place. Right now, the first-year students are standing on silver tiles in front of Professor Ajban with a mug of coffee and Glinda with her tablet scroll. Naruto was at the far end, followed by Ruby, then Yang and the other first-year students. He moved his head to the side when Glinda threw a small dust spell at him to get his attention since Ajban was about to speak. Someone never got laid. Naruto thought, snickering at his own joke. For years, you have trained to become warriors, and today, your abilities will be evaluated in the Emerald Forest. Ajban stated as he looked among the students. Now I'm sure many of you have heard rumors about the assignment of teams. Well, allow us to put an end to your confusion. Each of you will be given teammates today, Glinda announced. What? Oh, Ruby whined at this unexpected development. These teammates will be with you for the rest of your time here at Beacon. So it is in your best interest to be paired with someone with whom you can work well, Ajban advised them. Naruto looked at Ruby as she whined some more, with Yang winking at him. That being said, for this year's initiation, the first person you make eye contact with after landing will be your partner for the next 4 years. Ajban declared. What? Ruby wailed in distress. Naruto could literally hear Ruby's world shattering into little shards of broken glass and immediately felt really bad for her. See? I told you, Nora said to Rin, but was interrupted by Ajban as he started speaking again. After you've partnered up, make your way to the northern end of the forest. You will meet opposition along the way. Do not hesitate to destroy everything in your path, or you will die. Ajban said, laying it on kinda thick. Naruto muttered. You will be monitored and graded through the duration of your initiation, but our instructors will not intervene. You will find an abandoned temple at the end of the path containing several relics. Each pair must choose one and return to the top of the cliff. You will guard that item, as well as your standing, and grade you appropriately. Are there any questions? Ajban asked. No one said a word. Good. Now, take your positions. Ajban instructed. Everyone got into her battle stances on their own tile, readying to begin. Starting at the far end, the prospective huntsmen and huntresses were launched off the cliff by the pad they were standing on. Yang slipped on a pair of blue aviators and winked at Ruby before flying off with a cheer. Ruby smiled before she was then launched, and Naruto followed after. Emerald Forest. A bird Grim was flying slowly and magnificently over the forest until it shrieked and exploded in a burst of feathers thanks to Ruby crashing into it. Birdie, no! Ruby cried. Ruby then fired a few rounds from Crescent Rose's gun mode to slow her down, then switched to scythe mode to catch the branch of a tree with her blade to descend to the ground safely. Weiss summons a white snowflake glyph and leap off it to slow her own fall into the forest. Nora sailed by Rin, who spun in the air and used her weapon Stormflower to spiral around the trunk of a large tree and landed on the ground, brushing her clothes of dust before looking up to see Yang soaring past her. Woohoo! Yeah! Alley-oop! Yang yelled as her used Ember Celica and shot gauntlets but yellow and their recoiled to tree surf through the top of the forest, spinning in the air and laughing with each blast as she went further north. Whoa! She crashes through the leaves of some trees while whooping and bounded off of 2 trees before rolling onto the ground. Nail it! Yang boasted and ran off, unaware that she landed near a certain catgirl who began to trail her. Pyrrha, with her weapon Milo, a red and gold hiltless sword, and Ako, a bronze shield, used her Shield-A-Ko to tank through several trees before landing on a branch, shifted Milo into shotgun mode to check her surroundings before seeing a familiar flame redhead soar past her. Naruto's landing strategy involved pulling Sunset Tempest out and twirled it around buzzing through the trees before he came up against a few more and put Sunset Tempest on his back again and used Storm Blitz to kick himself from tree to tree before he landed on the ground and skidded to a stop. Now to find a partner. Naruto must walking off. Meanwhile in the middle of the forest Ruby landed in a crouch and sped off with single goal in her mind. Gotta find Yang. Gotta find Naruto. Gotta find Yang. Gotta find Naruto. Gotta find. Ruby ranted off before shouting. Yang. Naruto. She called out. Oh, this is bad, this is really bad. What if I can't find them? What if someone finds them first? Then who would I be partnered up with then? Ooh. I know, there's Blake. She's so mysterious, so calm plus she likes books. Then again, I'm not sure I'd be able to hold a conversation with her. Ugh. Ruby then shaked her head trying to think. Okay, who else do I know in this school? There's Yang, Naruto, Blake, and... Her train of thought was detailed when she crashed into someone making them both fall on the ground. Ruby sat up and shook her head to clear her vision to find herself looking into the eyes of Weiss, who was sitting on her but with a look of shock on her face. Oh no, Ruby thought as Weiss slowly got up. No, there was a pause between them before Weiss turned on her heel and walked the other way, not caring about the rules of pair matching. Well, north is this way, Weiss said, continuing on. Ruby followed after Weiss and watched as she struggled through the bushes and low tree branches. Don't follow me. I'm not being partners with you. Weiss snapped as she cleared the bushes. Oh ho. So the big bad Shinee is going to break school rules? What would your family say, huh? Ruby countered as she followed her. Weiss opened her mouth to retort, but failed to find the words to say as Ruby continued. Besides, the professors are monitoring us as we speak, and have no doubt mark us down as partners. So even if you find another partner, they wouldn't count it since our eyes are met. You sure thought a lot about this, Weiss must looking at Ruby. There's nothing to think about. At least I listened to Professor Ashbin despite my complaining. Ruby sighed, crossing her arms. And I may not look like it, but I'm very mature for my age. They then stopped when they heard a voice above them. Hello? Anyone out here? Naruto came out of a bush before he saw Ruby and Weiss. You two are paired up together? Tough break, Rubes. Naruto frowned. Tell me about it. Ruby moaned. Weiss' eyebrow twitched before she grabbed Ruby by the hood and dragged her off, realizing Naruto would have been her next choice after leaving Ruby. But then again, Ruby was right about the rules. By no means does this make us friends. Weiss said as she pulled Ruby in the direction they were walking. Hey, wait. Ruby said as Weiss quickly dragged her way into more bushes. I'll see you later, Naruto. Why yeah, later, Naruto waved before pulling his hand down. Anyone else out here? Branches snapped behind him and Naruto turned to face whatever it may be, ready for battle, only for Pira to step out. Hello again, Naruto. Pira greeted cheerfully. Hey, Pira. Naruto greeted back, getting out of his stance, and smiled. Looks like we're partners. Seems like it. Ready to go? Pira asked. Yup. Let's get going. Naruto said, back with Ruby and Weiss. Geez, what's the hurry? Ruby asked after pulling away from Weiss. I will not let my mission be delayed because you're too slow. I swear, if I get a bad grade because of your, Weiss said as she looked away at Ruby, but was startled when she looked to the front to see Ruby leaning against the tree with a smirk on her face and arms crossed. What the? You don't have to worry about me being slow. Man, you really do judge a book by its book, do you? Ruby said and pushed herself off the tree. But how did you? Weiss stuttered, slightly amazed. My semblance silly. Weiss, just because I don't exactly know how to deal with people doesn't mean I don't know how to deal with monsters. You experienced the Ruby that is awkward around others. But now Ruby puts her arm around a skeptical Weiss' shoulders. You're about to witness a Ruby who's the best in the world about what she does, kicking ass, slaying Grim, and taking names. And one more thing, Ruby let go of Weiss and has a serious expression on her face. You may have high expectations, but I wasn't born in this world to live up to yours, and the same goes you. I was born to be a huntress, like my mother before me, and now I'm gonna prove it. Ruby said. Ruby suddenly whipped out Crescent Rose in scythe mode to behead a Beowulf lunging from behind her. Weiss gasped and jumped out of the way as another Beowulf lunged at her. Where'd they come from? Weiss asked. The area's too closed off. Come on! Ruby shouted. Ruby grabbed Weiss and used her speed to get them out of there and to an open place where they can fight, while a pack of Beowulfs rushed after them. The initiation of Beacon has begun. Chapter 3 Initiation and Forming Teams. Yan was walking through the forest, bored out of her mind as she searched for anyone really. Hello? Yan called out, but got no response and kept walking. Is anyone out there? She still got no response. Hello? Yan stopped walking and threw her arms in the air. I'm getting bored here. She heard some rustling in the bushes behind her and turned around. Is someone there? Yan went to the bushes to take a peek. Naruto? Ruby? Is that you? She asked before hearing a low, inhuman growl, and looked up to find the source. Nope, Yang dodged rolled to the side as a large towering grim black bear with bone masks, claws, spikes sticking out of its shoulders and back, and red eyes with yellow pupils known as Ursa charged out of the bushes to take a bite out of her. Yang righted herself up and activated her Ember Celica shot gauntlets before sensing another Ursa who flanked her from behind. She backflipped over it as its fellow Ursa charged at her, only to get blasted back by a fiery punch. The second Ursa made another run at Yang, but she countered by ducking under its swipe and delivered several machine gun-style punch before finishing up with a kick to send the grim back. You guys wouldn't happen to have seen a girl in a red hood, would you? Or a guy with fiery red hair with a big-ass sword on in back? Yang asked only to receive a couple growls in response. You know, you could just say no, right? One of the Ursa took a couple of swipes at her, but Yang backflipped out of the way and laughed. Geez, you two couldn't hit the broadside of a BU. Yang started to say tauntingly when a single strand of her golden blonde hair falls in front of her face and lands on the ground. She shook with anger as she closed her eyes and opened them to reveal red eyes, making the Ursa look at each other in confusion. You fucking monsters! Yang screamed as an inferno enveloped her as she charged forward. She targets the first Ursa and delivers a devastating combo of fire-infused melee blows before unleashing a powerful punch that sent the offending Ursa through several trees that set them on fire. The other Ursa runs over, but was stopped cold at Yang's glare while leaking killer intent as a few burning tree falls into the ground behind her, giving off an intimidating image. What, bitch? You want some too? Yang yelled as stood her ground and prepared to give the remaining Ursa a beating of a lifetime. The Ursa reared back and stood up preparing to strike, when suddenly a whirling noise is heard at the same time followed by a thunk making the Ursa freeze. The Ursa whines before falling down a second later to reveal Blake Belladonna with her gamble shroud in Kuzurigama mode in the Bear Grimm's back. She tugged the ribbon her weapon was attached to and pulled it back into her hand before turning it back into its sword mode before sheathing it, and looked at Yang with a grin, making eye contact as she calmed down with her eyes turning back to the lilac color. I could have taken him. Yang shrugged. With Ruby and Weiss. After escaping the enclosed place, Ruby brought Weiss to a small clearing where the trees won't get in the way as the Beowulfs caught up with them. While Ruby dealt with the Beowulfs effortlessly, Weiss was having a slightly difficult time with them. She deflected a swipe from a Beowulf with her multi-action dust rapier Murdernaster, but got pushed back in a circle of prowling Beowulfs. Remember your training, Weiss. Weiss thought as she went through her dueling motions. Head up, shoulders back, right foot forward, not that forward. Slow your breathing, wait for the right time to strike, and now. Weiss dashed forward with the fire dust set in Murdernaster and targeted the Beowulf that attacked her, just when Ruby suddenly appeared out of nowhere in front of her. Take that! Ruby shouted, slicing the Beowulf in two with her speed. However, her sudden appearance and defeat of the Beowulf startled Weiss as she yelled out and accidentally swung Murdernaster in a random direction and created a line of fire that set a tree on fire that traveled to other trees and set them ablaze. What the? Ruby started to say, distracted by the fire, but quickly defended against the Beowulf's attack that knocked her back into Weiss. Watch it, will you? Excuse me. You attacked out of turn. I could have killed you. Weiss snapped at her with a bit of concern. You'll have to try a lot harder than that, Princess Ruby muttered as she rolled her eyes. The two stood back to back as the pack of Beowulfs growled around them. Ruby then flared her killing intent, a trick she learned from Naruto. As she reloaded Crescent Rose at the same time a burning tree fell near her. Weiss shivered at the killing intent flared by Ruby, wondering what it was, but the burning tree reminded her of the dire situation she and her new partner was in. We have to go, Weiss said, reaching out for Ruby's arm, but wasn't in time as Ruby used the recoil of her Crescent Rose to rocket towards the Grim. Ruby, you dolt! By the time Weiss took 5 steps, Ruby appeared next to her in a flash after bounding off the trees, slashing the Beowulfs and sheathed Crescent Rose on her back just as all the Beowulfs fell to the ground in bloody pieces. Ruby then grabbed Weiss around her waist and sped out of there before the fire could engulf them, stopping a safe ways from the small forest fire. You stupid dolt! We could have gotten killed! Weiss screeched as she pushed herself away from Ruby's grip when they landed. If you had exercised even the slightest amount of caution with the placement of your strikes, I wouldn't have set the forest on fire. If you have enough energy to rant about me saving both our butts, then I suggest we get a move on before all the relics are gone. Ruby told her bluntly and walked off. Since when have you gotten so smart all of a sudden? Weiss asked as she caught up to Ruby. And we're going the wrong way. We're not going the wrong way, Ruby said while ignoring the first question and looking up at the sky to view the sun's position. We are if you're looking up at the sky like that, Weiss pointed out. Oh, for the love of cookies. She loves to hear herself talk, Ruby thought to herself before stopping. Okay then, princess. You can lead us since you believe you know where the temple is. For once, you're being smart. Unlike those other times, Weiss said and went a different direction before bumping Ruby's shoulder with her own as she passed her. Now come on. As Weiss walked off in a completely different direction, Ruby channeled all of her inner rage at her partner's attitude into unfolded in Crescent Rose and slices a group of trees down. They fell down behind her as she refolded and sheathed it back before following Weiss. If only I could turn back time, Ruby growled. With Naruto and Pira were making their way through the forest, keeping an eyes out for anything dangerous. Just then they heard a far-off noise in the distance, making them stop. You hear that? Naruto asked. Gunfire. It seems some of our comrades have encountered the enemy. Pira said. Yeah. Naruto frowned as they continued on. So how have you been doing since we last seen each other? Pira wondered. I've been good. Being kitsune has kept me busy, as I'm sure you've heard. Oh yeah? The life of a vigilante crime fighter would consume a lot of anyone's time. Still can't believe it all started off as tournament competitor. To be honest, my first bust with a couple of white fan members. Really? Yeah. I was minding my own business walking into town when some members of the white fan came and started terrorize the place. Both humans and faunas. What did you do? I went into an alley, dubbed on my kitsune outfit and mask, and went out to stop the white fan and what they were doing. It was hard as some were aggressive and violent, but thanks to my training I was able to beat them and let the local policemen take them away. I never did ask you this, but who trained you to be so good? Well, some of me is self-taught, and the other I was trained by my mother. She must be excellent huntress. She is. She's a teacher at Signal. Their conversation was cut short when a couple of short hairy grim that looked like wild boars with a bone mask with 4 red eyes and fragments known as Borbotusk came out and surrounded them. One came out looking a lot larger. Its bone-like armor was thicker and denser. Its armor was covered with scars, showing that it had survived many battles with humans and with others of its kind to reach its size. Looks like we got some company. Naruto said, readying Storm Blitz. It would appear so. Pira said, pulling out Milo and Iko. Let's see if you haven't gotten rusty. Naruto smirked. I could say the same thing. Pira grinned. The large Borbotusk roared, signaling the other Borbotusks to charge at the duo. Naruto jumped up in the air, rolled over and landed behind one before he punched it from behind and shot it into a tree, knocking it over before another Borbotusk came from behind to strike him with its tusks. Naruto raised up his left leg and kicked it, making it stagger back before he did a 1-2-3 punch before thrusting his fist into its mouth and fired, making it explode. Pira used Iko to block a charging Borbotusk before triple slashing with Milo before stabbing it on top of its head. She then rolled out of the way as another Borbotusk came charging at her before shifting Milo into rifle mode and fired red bullets at its back, making it knock into another one. A third one then rolled up in a ball and rolled in place before coming right at her, but Pira shifted Milo into javelin mode and chucked it using the recoil to stab it through the head. 2 Borbotusks run at Naruto from both sides to nail him, but he stomped the ground and recoiled himself in the air as the 2 wild boar grims slammed into each other. Naruto pulled Sunset Tempest from his back and sliced them in 2 before he landed and positioned it behind him to where another Borbotusk was at and fired, blasted its head off. The last 2 Borbotusks came at Pira, but she was wanting that, rolled to the side and stabbed Milo into its side before spinning around and slamming it into the other one, knocking them both down before she jumped back and threw Iko in a disc throw and sliced their heads off before it bounced off a tree and came back. Both Naruto and Pira turned to the large Borbotusk that was the leader that was growling at them before it charged. Both hunters in training blocked the strike using Sunset Tempest and Iko as they skidded back before Naruto jumped up and double-kicked it in the face, knocking it back. How are we going to take down this one? Pira asked. I have an attack that would be perfect for this guy. Naruto smirked. He whispered something into Pira's ear, making her grin before she nodded her head and ran up to the Borbotusk and slammed Iko into its face as it pushed back both of them, struggling for supreme. Pira then shifted Milo into its sword mode before stabbing the Borbotusk into the eye, making it roar in pain as it stood up as Pira jumped back. Hey, ugly. The Borbotusk turned its heads to see Naruto standing them with a spiral blue orb in his right hand before he zoomed at it and slammed the orb into its side. Rasengan! Naruto shouted as the attack grinded into the wild boar grim and launched it spiraling into a tree on its back. Pira now! Right! Pira jumped up towards the Borbotusk and stabbed Milo into its stomach, killing it before pulling it out and jumped back to Naruto's side. Well, that was good workout, she said, putting Milo and Iko on her back. Sure was. Naruto said, sheathing Sunset Tempest back on his back and deactivating Storm Blitz. We should probably head on out. Right behind you, Pira said. With that they left the area to head on off towards their destination. In another area of Emerald Forest, Ling Rin was walking through the woods into an open area with tall grass, keeping her eyes out for anything till she felt she wasn't alone as she thought. Hearing a hissing sound, Rin turned her head slightly to see a large black snake grim with bone armor above its red eyes known as Basilisk come out of the grass behind her, before it slithered in front of Rin, who took a lotus stance as the Basilisk roared at her. The Basilisk charged at Rin, but she back cartwheeled out the way as the Basilisk continued to advance on her before backflipping in the air where the giant snake slammed into her, making Rin flip around before landing on her feet and skidded back where she stood up. The Basilisk slithered around Rin, who brought out Stormflower before she jumped up into the air and started firing green bullets at its face as the snake came only for Rin to twirl around and kick it in the face and knocked it down. As the Basilisk rose up, Rin ran and leaped at it before slashing its neck with her axe-like blades and landed beside it as the Basilisk turned around and slithered away before turning back to Rin to take a bite at her, but she back flipped out the way as it slammed into the ground, where Rin landed on top of the head and stabbed the blade of her guns into its head. Nothing happened till Rin heard another hissing sound, making her turn her head to see another large snake grim like the basilisk come out of the other's mouth, except it was white, and charged at Rin, who cartwheeled out the way and watched as both snakes came together to become the paired grim known as King Taijutsu. The black snake charged with the white snake right behind it as Rin jumped over the black one and landed on its back before running down on it, jumped up and started surfing it down before firing at the white snake as it moved to try and get away from the fire, but Rin wasn't letting up. Suddenly the white snake came around and crashed into Rin, knocking her into the air and making her drop Stormflower on the ground. Rin stood up as the black snake opened its mouth to eat Rin, who raised her hands up and a magenta energy field came out and blocked the snake as it tried to push through to get to her. Rin then grabbed the two front fangs and pulled them out, making the snake roar in pain, backing up before it charged at Rin again. Rin twirled around to dodge and stabbed one of the fang into its eye, making it stop as she tossed the other fang. She then took a lotus stance and slammed her hand into the fang, forcing it into the snake's head with force before it bloated up and exploded before Rin eased up her body before looking at the white snake before run towards it and picking up Stormflower to engage the ending fight with the snake. The snake opened its mouth to chomp at her, but Rin jumped on top of its head and jumped off before spinning around and began firing at it all over its body, making it wither in pain, thrashing around. When Rin landed, she turned around, ran at the white snake, jumped up and kicked it onto the body of the other snake before she jumped up in the air, landed on it, and stabbed the snake on its head with her blades into the brain, killing it. Rin stood up on the dead snake's body and slid Stormflower under her sleeves and began brushing herself off. Glala, gola. Rin turned around and looked up in time to see Nora hanging upside down from a tree and kiss her on the cheek before their eyes met. I still don't think that's what a sloth sounds like, or does? Rin said, giggling at her friend's antics. Boop! Nora said, poking Rin on the nose, making her giggle again as Nora stuck out her tongue silly-like. Beacon Cliff. Ashbin was standing on the cliff looking at his tablet scroll as Glinda was coming up behind him with her in her hands. The last pair has been formed, sir. Glinda informed Ashbin as they checked the progress of the first-year students. Nora, Valkyrie, and Ling Rin. Poor girl, I can't possibly imagine those two getting along. Still, the pairs seem pretty good despite some flaws in some. The one that look promising to me are Mr. Uzumaki and Ms. Nikos, given both are excellent huntsmen in training based on their skills. Ashbin hummed, glossing at her before looking back at his scroll. I guess we'll more of their progress soon enough. At their current pace, they should reach the temple within just a few minutes. Glinda noted before deactivating her tablet scroll and walked off before she stopped and turned to Ashbin. Speaking of which, what did you use as relics this year, Professor Ashbin? Ashbin didn't answer as he watched live footage of a bored Ruby sitting cross-legged on the grass picking it, and yawning while her partner Weiss paces around her in random directions. Emerald Forest with Ruby and Weiss. It's definitely this way, I mean this way. It's definitely this way, alright, it's official, we passed it. Weiss said, stopping in front of Ruby. Is it really too hard to just admit that you have no idea where you're taking us? Ruby asked, completely annoyed and slightly ticked off as she stood up. Because I know exactly where we're going. We're going to the forest temple. Weiss replied a bit lamely. Ugh. Ruby facepalmed herself and growled in frustration. Oh, stop it. You don't know where we are either, Weiss said. This time, Ruby started punching herself on her head as her frustration increased. Hitting yourself is not helping, Weiss said. Well, at least I'm not pretending like I know everything, and knew exactly where we're going before you hijacked it. Ruby snapped. What's that supposed to mean? Weiss yelled. It means that you bossing me around is getting us nowhere. Ruby shouted. I'm not bossy. Don't say things like that. Weiss shouted. Then let's get back on track. The reason I was looking up at the sky was because I was using it as a compass to see if we're heading the right direction. The temple's to the north, remember? Ruby shouted, getting in Weiss' face, making her stumble back. What? How does that? Weiss stuttered. Of course you wouldn't know anything about that, acting like you're so perfect. Ruby said as she went to head in the right direction to the temple. I'm not perfect. Not yet, but I'm still leagues better than you. Weiss countered and pushed Ruby out of the way of her path. Ruby snapped. The next thing Weiss knew, Ruby was in front of her with crescent rose unfolded. Before she could react, Ruby slashed down at her vertically in the blink of an eye, tearing the top of her hunter outfit down the middle. Weiss screamed as she grabbed her clothes to keep them from falling apart, and sank to the ground as Ruby put away Crescent Rose. Weiss was about to verbally lash out at Ruby, but faltered when Ruby glared at her with vicious eyes. Ever since I was nearly killed by a Beowulf when I was 4 years old, I trained to become a huntress. I heard it took a kidnapping to discover that you could fight and trained afterwards. You don't even know me at all, but between the two of us, you're the one that's pathetic, and I'm the one who's leagues better than you since we're miles apart in experience. If you want to pass this initiation, then pick yourself up and follow me, or you can continue to sit there and whine about your clothing like a sniveling little rich bitch. With that, Ruby turned on her heel and stormed off while putting on her headphones, ignoring Weiss' insults and shouting for her to come back. Emerald Forest near a cave. Think this is it? Naruto asked, trying to see inside a cave and failing to pierce through the inky blackness. Naruto and Pira came upon a cave that had scratches on the right side of the entrance, seemingly depicting a battle between a bunch of people and a giant scorpion, and thought this was the place. I don't know, Pyrrha said quietly. The headmaster did say we would find the relics in a temple. Well, it's not like temples haven't been built in caves before. Naruto shrugged and waved for her to follow him before they stopped before entering the mouth of the cave. We should probably light a torch or something, Naruto said to himself. He turned his head to see Pyrrha ripped a branch off of a tree and offered it to him. Thanks. He wrapped the top in the old cloth, pulled out a lighter, and used it to light it up, and they descended into the cave. After a few minutes of walking they were starting to get discouraged. I don't think this is the right way, sorry, Pyrrha said with a sigh. Yeah, I don't think so either. Naruto sighed as well. Let's keep walking a bit more, and if we find nothing, we'll just go back. He then stumbled over a rock and the torch fell out his hand into a puddle where it sputtered and died. Great, do you feel that? Pyrrha asked quietly. Is it warm in here? Naruto asked, feeling it. A golden glow suddenly appeared a few feet in front of them. Hey, do you think that's the relic? Naruto asked, slightly excited. Could be. Pyrrha replied, sounding happy as well before frowning. Wait, there's only one, the headmaster said. Relics? Suddenly, 8 red eyes opened, glowing in the darkness along with red markings that would only be found on a grim. Running time? Pyrrha asked calmly. Why, yep. Naruto replied just as calm as the grim began to chitter threateningly. Definitely running time, he shouted. The two turned tail and fled back the way they came, stumbling in the darkness as the grim screeched angrily behind them. They exited back out into sunlight and turned around, readying their weapons. Alright, we're in the open now, let's take this thing, dash. Naruto started to say, before the grim slammed through the entrance of the cave, leaving a hole 3 times as wide as the previous entrance, revealing the grim to be giant scorpion with bone armor on its pincers, head, back, and tail with a gold stinger known as a death stalker. Whoa! The duo rolled away as the stinger pierced the air between them. Pyrrha came out of it, and knelt under a snapping pincer before turning Milo from its javelin mode to its rifle mode and fired at the Death Stalker's face. Naruto backflipped over a claw and landed on the white appendage, before punching bullets at the sinisterly glowing red eyes only for them to hit harmlessly off the thick armor of the Death Stalker, and only irritated it. Naruto then hopped from one claw to the other as the grim swiped at both of them with Pyrrha cartwheeling back, before switching her Milo from rifle mode back to a javelin mode and hurled it at the eyes. The Death Stalker tilted its head and the spear was deflected off before it stopped and zipped back in Pyrrha's hand. Naruto switched tactics and drew out Sunset Tempest before slashing at 4 of its eyes, making the giant grim screeched in anger and flicked its claws, sending Naruto into the air. The fiery redhead flipped mid-air and pointed Sunset Tempest to fire, when he saw the golden glowing stinger heading straight for his face. Naruto brought up Sunset Tempest to block it as the stinger impacted into him and hurled him through the air, over the trees and out of sight. Fucking dia! Pyrrha watched in dismay until Naruto's body disappeared over the trees. She turned back to the Death Stalker and smiled nervously as it replied by releasing a chittering roar. The red-haired huntress dashed away in a spray of green leaves, and the grim followed after her, smashing through everything in its path. Emerald Forest, the temple. Think this is it? Yang asked as she and her partner stepped out of the bushes and into a clearing that revealed the ruins of circular stone temple with platforms holding several black and gold objects. Blake gave Yang a silent, incredulous look before she headed down the hill with Yang following until they reached the temple. Chess pieces? Blake wondered upon closer inspection of the objects. Some of them are missing. Looks like we weren't the first ones here. Yang noted. Well, I guess we should pick one. Blake said with Yang nodding and looking around before approaching one of the relics. Yang eyes a golden knight chess piece and picks it up. How about a cute little pony? Sure. Blake agreed, rolling her eyes and smiling as Yang picked up a second golden knight piece. That wasn't so hard, Yang said cheerfully as they met in the center of the temple. Well, it's not like this place is very difficult to find. Blake agreed as they shared a smile until they heard a loud explosion echo in the distance. Well, someone's in trouble, Yang said as she turned towards the direction of the explosion. Think we should help? Blake didn't answer as she noticed something in the sky. Blake, what should we do? Yang asked, turning to her. Blake continued to up at the sky where she saw Ruby was falling, heads you up, as well as Naruto who was coming in fast. Ah, stalker, moments ago. Ruby! I told you this was a terrible idea. Wise shouted as she and Ruby were holding on to a flying thing in the air. You're the one who was complaining about us not making it to the temple in time, and I improvised, so stop whining. Ruby shouted back. I am so not whining. More like fearing for my life, and my top coming off thanks to you. Then you're in the wrong profession. If you fear for your life and your outfit, then you have no business becoming a huntress. I'd rather fight as a huntress to live, thank you very much. To live? Not protect everyone else in the world? You should have stayed in Atlas. I didn't mean it like that. You're failing to convince me. I'll prove it to you. Then jump. We're below the temple. Are you insane? Oh, you insufferable little red dash. Abandoned temple. Blake, what should we do? Yang asked, turning to her. Blake looked up at the sky where she pointed up as she and Yang saw Ruby falling. Heads you up. Ruby wailed, her arms flapping and flailing. Don't worry, little sis. I got Yang started before something flew over their heads. Ah, stalker. Naruto impacted into Ruby, his momentum carrying both of them into a nearby tree. You. Ouch. Yang finished distantly. Oh, what was that? Ruby groaned, dizzy-eyed as stars and grim circled around her head until she shook them off. Branches snapped as Naruto landed on the thick limb Ruby was sitting on in a crouched position. Hey, Ruby. Naruto said as he rubbed his head to regain his breath. Naruto? Ruby asked confusedly. How did you hit me midair? Because scorpions are Ruby. Naruto responded. Did your sister and Naruto just fall from the sky? Blake questioned her dumbstruck partner. Yang started, but was interrupted by a shout in the forest. Why ha ha. Several crashing noises in the forest with an Ursa coming out, arms flailing. Then, a pink bolt of energy blasted it in the back, making it collapse to ground and depositing its rider, which was Nora, who rolled to the ground. Oh, it's broken, Nora said before going to body. Eowyn as she observed her carcass of her prey as Rin finally caught up to her after jumping through trees and landing on the ground beside the carcass. Nora! Please don't ever do that again. Rin whined and panted and looked up to find a pink dotted outline of where her partner, and groaned when she realized that Nora's run off again. Nora whistled as she was now in the temple, starting at a golden rook relic before swiping it, causing stars and her symbols to appear with a pink background as she dances and sings with the rook piece. I'm queen of the castle. I'm queen of the castle. Nora! Rin yelled in annoyance. He. Coming, Rin! Nora called out with a salute, and skipped back to her friend and partner with the relic in hand. Did that girl just ride in on an Ursa? Blake asked. Yang tried to but was interrupted once again as a shrill screech is heard, and Pyrrha ran out of the forest with the Death Stalker on her rear as it uproots loads of trees as it chased her. Pyrrha jumped and dodged its giant claws and continued running for her life. Naruto! Pyrrha called out worriedly, hoping her partner fell where she is now. Up here, Pyrrha! Naruto shouted. Whoa! A Death Stalker! Ruby exclaimed. I know, right? Naruto said as he and Ruby jumped off the branch and landed next to Yang. Naruto! Yang said excitedly, seeing him. Yo, Yang, Blake. Naruto smiled. Yay! We're all together again. Ruby cheered. Ruby! Yang called joyfully. Yang! Ruby cried back, arms spread for a hug. Nora! Nora shouted excitedly, coming between them and knocking Ruby and Yang off balance. Pyrrha sprinted in their direction, just barely keeping ahead of the swiping pincers of the Death Stalker. Did she just run all the way here with the Death Stalker on her tail? Blake asked, crossing her arms, this time a bit amused, due to her partner growling and getting annoyed and irritated with tick mark on her head, with Nora playfully mimicking her, before her aura erupted in a burst of fire as she eyes turned red. I can't take it anymore. Can everyone just chill out for 2 seconds before something crazy happens again? Yang yelled in absolute fury. Naruto checked his watch, counting down to 2 seconds as Yang cooled down. Rin ran over to the ditzy Nora, and Blake and Ruby looking up. Oh boy, Yang? Naruto? Ruby said, drawing Naruto's attention upward while Yang groaned in exasperation. Up in the sky, Weiss was hanging on the bony talon of a giant bird grim with a bone mask over its face called a Nevermore that she and Ruby arrived on with one arm while the other was trying to keep her torn top on and not expose herself. How could you leave me? Weiss wailed as she hung on for dear life. I did say jump, you idiot! Ruby countered. She's gonna fall. Blake said simply. She claims she's leagues better than me, so she'll be fine. Ruby assured them sarcastically. You ruined her outfit for that remark, didn't you? Naruto asked, seeing the state of her clothes. Yep. Ruby said cheerfully. Naruto snorted at that as they saw Weiss lost her grip on the talon. Guys, she's falling. Rin deadpanned. I got this. Naruto said, activating the shot greaves of Storm Blitz before he stomped on the ground and shot himself up in the air. He sailed through the sky with his arms outstretched, and Weiss landed in them in a perfect bridal-style carry as he flipped and hit the ground. Just dropping in, Naruto said, and set her down. I what dash? Weiss stuttered out. No need to thank me, Snow Angel. Naruto winked. Pyrrha was then finally knocked away by the Death Stalker and landed on her side in front of everyone else. You okay? Naruto asked. Peachy. Pyrrha groaned, sitting up, rubbing her head. Welp, the gang's all here. Now we can die together. Yang declared jokingly. Oh, joy is us, Rin muttered, not sharing the sentiment. Ha! We'll see about that. Ruby declared and charged at the Death Stalker with a battle cry. Yaowa, Ruby, wait! Yang shouted after her. Ruby used the recoil of Crescent Rose to boost her charge towards the oncoming Death Stalker. When she was close, the Death Stalker knocked Ruby away with its claw. Ruby! Naruto shouted and ran after her as she landed on the ground. Didu, don't worry. Totally fine. Ruby called back as she got up and put a hand to her side. She jumped when the Death Stalker shrieked at her, and retaliated by shooting it in the skull as she jumped back, using the recall as a boost to run the opposite way away from the Scorpion Grim and towards Naruto, also using her speed semblance as she did. Ruby! Yang shouted in worry as the Nevermore swooped from the sky. Naruto cursed as the bird snapped its wings and threw several spear-like feathers at the retreating huntress, pinning her to the ground when a feather pierced her cape. He dodged the feathery projectiles as he ran towards Ruby, but the Nevermore flapped its wings again, creating a strong gust of wind that knocked Naruto off his feet into the ground away from Ruby. Naruto! Ruby cried. Ruby, get out of here! Yang screamed at her sister, who's struggling with her cloak. I'm trying! Ruby shouted back after unpinning one of the snaps on her cloak, and was working on the other one. She managed to free herself of her beloved cloak and looked to escape, but failed to notice the Death Stalker flanking her and knocking her back into the feathers, causing her to cry in pain as she was cut with the feathers that tore into her outfit. Cornering its now wounded prey, the Death Stalker raised its golden stinger above Ruby and brought it down in an attempt to pierce her. Ruby! Yang screamed in distress and reached out in vain as a white blur raced past her. With nowhere to go, Ruby closed her eyes and raised her arms over her head, waiting for the pain. Yet it never came. You and Uzumaki are two peas in a pod. Ruby opened her eyes to discover the Deathstalker's stinger encased in ice that trapped it where it is struggling to get free, and blinked in surprise at her unexpected savior who had one knee on the ground with her rapier stabbed in the ground. Weiss? Ruby asked. So difficult to get along with, totally unpredictable, and completely hyperactive, and don't even get me started on your fighting style, Weiss said as she turned to look at Ruby. And I suppose I can be a bit antisocial, but if we're going to do this, we're going to have to do this together. So if you quit trying to show off, I'll be nicer. Ruby just looked at her before shaking her head. Touché, Weiss, she said as she got up and tugged her cloak out of the quill it was pinned on. As for showing off, I'm just trying to show you what I can do, so don't say that you'll be nicer, show it. Until then, Ruby put her cloak back on and smiled brightly at Weiss. Thank you, you're just fine, Weiss said, averting her eyes away from Ruby. And well, she then brushed past her. Anytime as she walked off she thought about Ruby thanking her. No one has ever thanked me like that before. Normal knees, Ruby whispered as she was walking out of the small forest of feathers and noticed the Death Stalker still struggling to escape. Whoa, she muttered until she was wrapped in a bone crushing by her sister from behind. So happy you're okay. Yang squealed as she hugged Ruby close. Don't worry, I'm fine, but let up. You're hurting me, oh wow wow. Ruby squeaked. The Nevermore screamed loudly as it was coming back. Oh no you don't. Naruto shouted as he jumped over the two sisters and landed on top of the iceberg as the giant bird dive-bombed at them. Naruto went through 6 hand seals before ending with the last seal. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Naruto spewed a rather modest fireball out of his mouth and into the Nevermore, making it stumble back a little, but it was still coming at the group. Okay then, try this. Going through another wave of hand seals but longer, Naruto ended on the last one, and spread his arms apart as they became encased in lightning in the form of dragon heads. Lightning style, Dragon Claw Thunderbolt. Naruto thrusted his right hand out, firing a concentrated beam of lightning at the Nevermore's face. The lightning beam slammed into the grim bird's face, causing it to screech in pain, and aborted the dive. The fiery redhead pulled his left hand back, making the dragon head look like it was roaring with a ringing sound before Naruto himself roared before he thrusted his hand out, releasing a blinding barrage of lightning attacks that engulfed the Nevermore as thunder boomed from the air being split. The light faded, and the Nevermore, slightly more crispy than before, caught angrily and flew away. Naruto stepped off the iceberg and strode back to the group, who had watched in awe at the light show while Ruby and Yang just grinned at him. That was impressive skill you just showed there, Rin said in slight praise. There's more to you than meets the eye, Uzumaki. Thanks. Naruto chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. Anyway, we need to come up with plan, he said seriously. Do we run or fight? Our mission is to grab an artifact and make it back to Beacon Cliff. While I'm all for slaying them, they are not our primary concern right now, Ruby said. In other words, there's no sense in fighting those things right now. Weiss added. Well, what are you waiting for? Yang said, holding up her and Blake's golden knight piece while Nora's and Rin's golden rook piece was resting on Nora's head. Ruby and Naruto moved forward into the temple. The red-cloaked girl grabbed the golden knight piece while the fiery redhead laid claim to the golden castle piece. Ruby and Naruto smiled at each other as they held up the pieces from their pedestals. By the way, Naruto, that display of lightning was quite shocking, if you know what I mean. Yang grinned. Yang, that pun was way too obvious. Naruto deadpanned. He's right, Yang, Ruby said dryly. You guys are no fun. Yang said sourly, crossing her arms. A crack sounded out as the Death Stalker pulled at the iceberg encompassing its stinger. The Death Stalker's about to get free. It's time we left, Rin told them calmly but urgently. Right then. Let's move, Naruto said and waved to the others. Right behind you, Ruby declared and followed him with the others. As the others, even Weiss, followed after them, Yang stayed behind smiling as Blake approached her. What is it? She asked. Yang didn't answer as she stared proudly at Ruby, who leapt on a boulder and motions for the group to keep up the pace with Naruto beside her. Nothing. Yang answered and raced after the group, with Blake now smiling after her before following. Abandoned ruins. Naruto, Ruby, Weiss, Blake, Yang, Pira, Nora, and Rin ran out of the forest and into a series of ruined structures as the Nevermore tailed them from the air. The group spread out and took cover behind some stone pillars as the Nevermore perched on a high column in front of them and cawed loudly. Well, that's just great, Yang complained. It's about to get worse, Naruto stated as the Death Stalker burst from the trees behind the group. Everybody move, he yelled. Everyone bolted from their covers as the Nevermore rose up into the air when it saw them scattering. Nora, distract it, Rin said as they moved. Nora obliged and ran as the Nevermore fired off its feather projectiles. She ducked and leapt over them, bringing out her grenade launcher manghiled and fired on the Nevermore, hard-topped shells bursting into pink electricity upon impact, causing it to retreat. The Deathstalker came up behind her and attacked, but failed to hit its target as Blake and Rin performed a cross-slash that knocked its claws off course as Weiss grabbed Nora and used the glyph to boost themselves away from the Deathstalker that was now chasing Blake and Rin. Go, go! Pyrrha said to the group as she shifted Milo into its rifle mode and fired upon the Deathstalker as Rin landed next to her, and started firing too until Blake leapt forward as the Deathstalker took a swipe at them, but missed as they ran. The 8 hunters in training raced across the bridge until the Nevermore reappeared and rammed into the bridge, shattering it and separating the group, trapping Blake, Rin, and Pyrrha with the Deathstalker and Ruby, Weiss, Yang, Nora, and Naruto cut off from them on the other side of the bridge. The Deathstalker knocked Blake back as Pyrrha and Rin tried to keep it back with gunfire. Shit! They need help, Naruto said seeing they were struggling. Let's do this, Nora said readying her manhild. Think you can give me a boost with that? Naruto smirked. Oh yeah? Nora grinned diabolically. She then shifted her weapon from grenade launcher into a giant full-length hammer, and hopped to the edge of the break in the bridge. Oh yeah? Naruto chuckled seeing what she was about to do. Nora slammed manghiled into the edge of the bridge that catapulted him to the other side towards the Deathstalker. Without losing her smile, Nora hopped on her hammer and fired it off the collapsing bridge, riding it through the air before she and Naruto slammed manghiled or double-punched with Storm Blitz on the head of the Deathstalker's skull. The Deathstalker retaliated with its stinger, causing Nora and Naruto to fire her weapons, using its recoil to avoid it. But Nora accidentally bumped into a recovering Blake and making her fall from the edge. As she was falling, Blake looked up to see the Nevermore flying above before she righted herself up and fired her Gamble Shroud in its Kuzurigama mode, using it recoil into the edge of the bridge while using her ribbon to swing away heading to the Nevermore. Blake managed to get onto its back before she ran across its back, slashing with her blade in sheath, before jumping off and landing on the ruined platform at the top of the columns next to Ruby, Yang, and Weiss. It's tougher than it looks, Blake told them. Then let's hit it with everything we got, Yang declared as she readied her Ember Celica. Ruby turned Crescent Rose from sniper rifle turned into its scythe form to give her better aim. Blake switched Gamble Shroud from her sword mode to pistol mode. Weiss spun the barrel on her rapier Murdernaster and prepared to shoot ice at it. They exploded at once. Weiss fired ice at it. Yang shot the exploding bullets at it. Blake and Ruby fired their guns. The Nevermore dived towards them and the Bird Grim was barely affected by their barrage of attack. It dive-bombed into the columns and platform, throwing chunks of stone everywhere as it began to fall into the misty chasm below, with the 4 girls using them to hop off them in various ways, with Ruby jumping off a stone and using the recoil of her Crescent Rose, Weiss using her glyphs to boost herself up, Blake using the ribbon with her Gamble Shroud and running up a pillar, and Yan using the recoil of Ember Celica and punching the stone pieces at the same time to reach the higher bridge above. None of this is working, Weiss complained as Ruby analyzed her surroundings. She saw Naruto with Pyrrha, Nora, and Rin facing down the Deathstalker, Blake reaching the bridge, and Yang firing round after round at the Nevermore, before grinning at Weiss. What? Weiss asked confused before Ruby pulled out a needle and some thread from her pack. What are you? The next thing Weiss knew, Ruby fixed up her outfit so it wouldn't fall apart before grabbing her arm. I have a plan. Come on, she said, grabbing her by her arm, and hopped over to the next bridge. Back with Naruto and the others, the Deathstalker roared at them. Let's get it, Naruto said and rushed at it with the others following. The Deathstalker attacked with a lunge of its claw, but was deflected by Pyrrha's shield Akuo and was slashed with Milo. The Grim reeled back and attacked with its other claw, but Naruto blocked it with Sunset Tempest while blasting it with a Storm Blitz to its face just as Pyrrha jumped up and struck it in the face as well. She hopped to the side as Naruto jumped back and unleashed Crimson Shots with Storm Blitz on the Deathstalker, with Rin running forward and firing upon it. The Deathstalker lashed out with its stinger, with Rin sidestepping it and grabbed onto it, shooting it at the base of its stinger, while Naruto continued peppering the Scorpion Grim with his shots, with Nora joining in on the action, firing her grenades at it. Pyrrha hurled Milo in javelin mode straight one of its eyes, making its roar in pain as it whipped Rin to the side as she lost her grip. Rin! Nora cried out as Rin hit the stone pillar hard and falls to the ground in a heap, groaning and unmoving. Shit, Naruto muttered and noticed the Deathstalker's stinger hanging limply from its tail. Pyrrha, the tail. Done! Pyrrha responded and hurls a code discus style, slicing the Deathstalker's stinger off that fell and stuck itself into the head of its owner, as Pyrrha's shield returned to her. Nora, hammer time! Naruto commanded. Pyrrha, give her a boost. Heads up! Nora yelled as Pyrrha got into position in front of her. Nora hopped onto Akuo, firing onto it as Pyrrha leapt up, giving Nora an extra boost into the air. The Deathstalker stuck at a defenseless Pyrrha, but Naruto got in the way, taking her place and saving her from being backlawed. Naruto! Pyrrha yelled as he was sent flying away. Meanwhile, Nora sat on the handle of Manghild's hammer mode, smiling and laughed until she reached the maximum height she could reach, before quickly firing her hammer down, using the recoil to speed down and twirl in the air before slamming her hammer down, driving the stinger down into the Deathstalker's head and crushing the bridge beneath it. Pyrrha leaping over the Deathstalker, retrieving Milo as Nora fired away and used the recoil to safely hop away as the rest of the bridge crumbled apart with the Scorpion Grim falling into the abyss. The hunters in training managed to get away, with Nora lands on her rear, Pyrrha lands in a crouched pose position, and Rin simply wobbled over to them, panting and groaning until she collapsed into Nora, who shifted herself so she could fall into her lap. Back with Naruto, he flipped into the air as he ended up in the flight path of the Nevermore as it dodged Yang's blasts, as she burned through her ammo, shooting crimson chains from his back as they struck the Nevermore. Naruto pulled himself forward and hopped on the back of it, and drove Sunset Tempest into the back of the Nevermore just as it was about to dive bomb into Yang. It screeched, allowing Yang to jump into its maw and force its beak open as she fired rounds into the bird Grimm's mouth. I hope you're hung dash. Gry. Yang screamed as she fired a round with each syllable. Looking behind her, Yang jumps back into the ruin while Naruto used a Rasengan on the back of the Nevermore, boosting himself off and used his crimson chains to reel himself up on the cliff above, causing the Nevermore to crash into the wall of the cliff. The bird Grimm recovered quickly and screeched as Yang smirked and retreated, passing Weiss as she glided forward. The Nevermore tried to take flight, but Weiss jumped forward and stabbed the tip of Murdernaster into its tail, freezing it on place and preventing the flapping Nevermore from getting away. Weiss then backflip into her snowflake symbol glyph and lands back to the group. From the cliff, Naruto observed the girls enacting Ruby's plan. On a pillar, Blake fired Gamble Shroud in pistol mode over to the adjacent pillar where Yang caught it and stabbed it into her pillar. With Blake still holding on to the ribbon, the two partners tightened it between the columns as Ruby jumped onto it while sitting on Crescent Rose the same way Nora sat on. Mang howled in the air, and bent the ribbon back next to Weiss, who had a white glyph that turned black when Ruby jumped into it. Of course you would come up with this idea, Weiss said. Think you can make the shot? Ruby asked, not taking her eyes off the struggling Nevermore. Can I? Weiss countered confidently. Fire. Ruby grinned. Weiss released Ruby as the glyph turned blood red when Ruby pulled Crescent Rose's trigger, launching her with such speed that it cracked the ground with rose petals flying from her ascent. Ruby continued shooting, using the recoil to boost herself towards the trapped Nevermore, until the blade caught into the Nevermore's neck and they both slammed into the cliff wall. Weiss then raised Murdernaster and materialized a line of glyphs up the wall, which Ruby used to stick to the wall and run along the wall by firing all the way up while yelling. Naruto, Yang, Blake, Weiss, Pyrrha, Nora, and Rin watched in amazement as she wall ran up the cliff with the Nevermore still caught in Crescent Rose's blade until she reached the cliff. Circling up, she fired one last shot, and cleaved the Nevermore's head clean off its shoulders in a shower of rose petals. Ruby flipped in the air and landed in Naruto's arms as the bird Grimm's severed head crashed next to them, off with its head. Naruto said, looking at the severed head and then at Ruby. Nice one, Ruby. Thanks, Naruto, but it wasn't just me. Ruby said as Naruto put her down and watched the Nevermore's headless body crashed into the ground below. I have you, Yang, Blake, and Weiss to thank. I admit, even I would have had trouble fighting that Nevermore by myself. Now I know why we're given partners at Beacon. Glad you figured it out in this battle, Ruby. Seems like I won't have to worry about you anytime soon, Naruto commented, grinning with his eyes closed as rose petals flew around them. Worrying you is the last thing I want to make you do, Naruto. Ruby thought as she blushed at Naruto. Especially when you're by my side to make me strong. A little while later, all 8 hunters in training met at the entrance to the ruins. Well, that was a thing, Yang commented, making Naruto facepalm and Ruby sweat drop. A thing? What does that even mean? Weiss asked. Never mind, don't answer that. More useless banter, I guess. Hard for you to be happy about anything, even a win, right? Blake asked in amusement. What do you expect? She's one cold princess. Naruto said, shrugged, grinning. More like Yang started before putting on her aviators. Weiss cold. Yeah. Nora suddenly added loudly. Everyone sniggered, even Blake and Rin, while Weiss did not look amused by the pun made at her expense even though she was smiling a little. Well, I guess we better head back. We got what we needed, Pyrrha stated. Yeah, it's been a long day. Naruto agreed as they made their way off. Beacon Academy at the amphitheater. Nighttime. Russell Thrush. Carden Winchester. Dove Bronzewing. Skylark. The 4 of you retrieved the Black Bishop pieces. From this day forward, you will work together as Team CRDL, Cardinal, led by Carden Winchester. The Beacon Academy initiation is over, and everyone is gathered to see which first-year pairs are going to team up with each other. After a few teams were formed, almost everyone figured out that the pairs that chose the same color pieces would be together. The audience clapped some more as the newly christened Team CRDL departed the stage as 4 more students walked onto the stage and took their places in front of Ajban as their faces filled the screen above them. Naruto Uzumaki. Ling Rin. Pyrrha Nikos. Nora Valkyrie. The 4 of you retrieved the white rook pieces. From this day forward, you will work together as Team NNPR, Napier, Ashbin declared. As the audience clapped, Nora laughs and gives a startled Rin a hug, led by Naruto Uzumaki. Really? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. Congratulations, young man. I know you will do great, and make a fine leader. Ashbin praised him with a smile. Piran nudged his shoulder and grinned, making Naruto smile too as they with the final 4 students arrived on stage. And finally, Blake Belladonna, Ruby Rose, Weiss Schnee, Yan Xiaolong. The 4 of you retrieved the White Knight pieces. From this day forward, you will work together as Team RWBY, Ruby. Led by Ruby Rose. As every applauded, Weiss looked at her partner surprised, while Ruby was in shock, not knowing what to think. Nice going, Ruby! You'll do great! Naruto shouted proudly as Yang hugged her. I'm so proud of you! Yang cried, hugging her close. It looks like things are shaping up to be an interesting year. Ashbin smiled. Chapter 4 First Day at Beacon. The sun was rising on Beacon Academy, and everyone was sleeping comfortably without a care in the world. We come into a dorm room where Weiss was sleeping peacefully. Her eyes started to open slowly, looking at the beautiful sunlight through the window as she gets up. She stretched out her arms in the air before releasing the yawn, but heard a loud whistle blow in her ears as she fell down on the ground courtesy of Ruby. Good morning, Team RWBY. Ruby yelled, jumped down on the ground. What is the world is wrong with you, Ruby? Weiss complained angrily to her partner. Now that you're plenty rested, my dear partner, we can officially begin our first order of business. Ruby stated while ignoring her question on purpose. And that is? Weiss questioned as she got up and brushed herself off. Decorating. Yang responded while holding a collection of objects consisting of pillows, pamphlets, a candle holder, etc. What? We said. We still have to unpack. Blake said, holding up her suitcase until it fell open, spilling its contents. And clean. Weiss did not look amused, especially when Ruby used her whistle on her again, startling her and making her fall again. Right. Weiss, Blake, Yang, and their fearless leader Ruby have begun their first mission, Ruby declared as she raised her fist into the air. Banzai! Banzai! Blake and Yang joined in from either side of Ruby with their first in the air too. While that was going on, across the hall in a different dorm that belonged to Team NetPR, they were waking up from all the noise Team RWBY were making. Sounds like Ruby and Yang are awake. Naruto muttered, getting out of his bed in his sleepwear. Is she always like that? Pira asked, rising up from her bed in her sleepwear that consisted of a red two-top and brown sweatpants that had a red string around the waist. You have no idea. Naruto sighed, shaking his head. Yay! First day at Beacon. Nora laughed, jumping out of bed in her sleepwear that was a black shirt with the word boop on it and white and pink shorts. Wonderful. Rinyon crawled out from her bed in her sleepwear that was a green sleeveless shirt and white sweatpants. Well, now that we're up, how about we get ready to start the day? Naruto suggested, with the girls nodding their heads in agreement. They changed into their Beacon Academy school uniforms, with Naruto wearing the male uniform consisting of a black suit jacket lined with gold over a blue vest and a white dress shirt with a red tie and black slacks with dress shoes, though he put his yellow scarf to go with the outfit as well as make a hole in the back of his pants for his tail, and the girls wearing the female uniform consisting of a brown jacket over a tan vest and a white dress shirt with a pink ribbon and a red plaid skirt with long stocking and dress shoes. Though the whole time they were changing, Naruto was in the bathroom to give the girls their privacy to change. You know, these uniforms could use a little zizzo, Nora said, twirling around. They're school uniforms, Nora. They have to be appropriate cause we're representing Beacon. Rin sighed, brushing her hair using a mirror. I think they're just fine. Pira said, straightening out her skirt. You girls think we should decorate our room? Naruto asked, making sure his scarf was secure. We'll have time to decorate it later, Rin said, after we finish our first day at Beacon. Pira said, hopefully the next 4 years will be epic. Nora laughed, flopping down on the bed next to Rin. You could be right about that, Nora. Naruto said, sitting down on the bed with Pira sitting down next to him. So I got to ask, how did you and Naruto meet, Pira? Nora asked her. I quite curious myself. From the way you two interact, it seems like you knew each other when you were younger. Rin added in. How we meet isn't all that big a deal. Pira chuckled. We meet at the Mistral tournaments where we battled each other. It was a hard and long fight as we both gave it our all. But in the end Naruto beat me and we've been friends ever since. We trained together, played together, we were the best of friends till an incident happened that separated us. We only just reunited recently. That's right. And I'm happy to be reunited with my redhead sweetheart. Naruto grinned, wrapping his left arm around Pira's shoulder, pulling her close to him. Shut up. Pira laughed, punching Naruto in his chest, blushing slightly, making Naruto chuckle. Sounds like to me you two are pretty close. Rin smiled. Yeah, really close. Nora giggled. So how did you two meet? Naruto asked them. Oh, me and Rin go way back. We've been besties since we were kids, Nora said. At first Nora drove me crazy with her hyper attitude and wildness. And Rin was no fun, being a sourpuss, and knew how to take the fun out of the most dangerous stuff. But in the end we were able to come together and make quite the dynamic duo. Yep. You know what they say, opposites attract and whatnot. I can see you guys have a really close bond. Naruto smiled. Yeah, an unbreakable friendship. Pira smiled as well. It's 8:55, you dunce. Naruto, Pira, Rin, and Nora heard a shout making them walk to the door and opened it to see Weiss running out her room as Ruby, Blake, Yang were in their doorway looking at her. To class. Ruby said, running after Weiss with Yang and Blake right behind her. I don't think it'll look good if we're late on our first day. Rin said. Yeah, that would suck. Nora nodded. Think you could give us a lift, Naruto? Pira asked Naruto, smiling. You know it. Naruto grinned. Naruto grabbed Rin and Nora around their waists as Pira jumped on his back before Naruto crouched down and took off in a blur, passing Ruby and her team. Hey! Yang shouted. See you girls later. Naruto yelled. No fair. Blake yelled. This is fun. Nora laughed. I guess this is one way to get to class. Rin smiled. Naruto is the fastest guy I know. Pira giggled. So that's how you want to play, huh? Ruby grinned before she turned around and wrapped her left arm around Blake and put Yang on her back and ran off in full speed while snatching Weiss up with her right arm and was matching Naruto. Ruby, what are you doing? Put me down. Weiss demanded. Well, this is effective. Blake grinned. Yeah. Go Ruby. Yang laughed. As the two leaders of Team NPR and RWBY raced off while carrying their teammates, they zoomed by Ashbin and Glinda, who only looked at them. Well, that's a sure way to get to class. Ashbin said, drinking coffee from his mug. With that kind of speed they'll make it. Glinda said, checking the time on her wrist. Good to know. Ashbin said. A while later in class. The classroom that is Grimm studies in an auditorium-like classroom with the whiteboards displaying drawings of Grimm with an axe blunderbuss weapon displayed above the board. The teacher of Grimm studies is Peter Port, a slightly overweight middle-aged man with gray hair and a gray mustache with closed eyes, and wearing a double-breasted burgundy suit with gold piping and buttons and pants that are tucked into his olive boots. Monsters. Daemons, prowlers of the night. Yes, the creatures of Grimm have many names, but I merely refer to them as prey. Haha. Team NPR, who were seated in the back row, and Team RWBY, who were seated in the front row, had varying emotion of interest of the whole class. Blake, Yang, and Rin were sitting up and paying attention. Nora had her head in her hands, snoring away with the air bubble coming out of her nose from the boredom. Weiss was taking notes. Pira was trying to be respectful to the teacher and listen while not showing how bored she was. Ruby had her head propped in her hand, napping until she woke back up due to Peter's bad attempt at a joke. And Naruto looked bored too while doodling on a piece of paper about a secret project he's working on, but sweat dropped as a cricket-filled silence filled the room. And you shall too, upon graduating from this prestigious academy. Now, as I was saying, Peter recovered and started pacing. Vale, as well as the other three kingdoms, are safe havens in an otherwise treacherous world. Our planet is absolutely teeming with creatures that would love nothing more than to tear you to pieces. And that's where we come in. Huntsmen, huntresses. Peter gives Yang a flirtatious wink which makes her groans uncomfortably while Naruto snorted as her discomfort. Individuals who have sworn to protect those who cannot protect themselves. From what, you ask? Why, the very world. Yep. A random student cheered, making the others look at him strangely before he sat back down embarrassed. That is what you are training to become. But first, a story. A tale of a young, handsome man, me. When I was a boy. Naruto groaned as the speech morphed into blahs for him and the other students. Weiss, who was now looking a bit bored herself, notices Ruby drawing something on her notepaper. Despite smelling of cabbages, my grandfather was a wise man. Peter, he told me, oh, for the love of ramen. This guy is boring me to death. Naruto mumbled, slamming his head on the table. I hear ya. I mean, he even made Nora fall all asleep. Pira said, trying to stay awake as Port's words returned to blahs for everyone to hear. Nora always goes to sleep if something doesn't catch her interests. Rin said. And how are you able to stand this? Naruto asked, wanting to know as well as Pira. A trick I picked up from Nora. I just let me mind wander to other things I like. Rin said. Such as? Pira asked. Naruto and Pira raised an eyebrow, seeing Rin's cheeks turn the slightest shade of pink. You don't want to know. Rin muttered. Think it's something embarrassing? Pira said. Judging from her expression and her averting her eyes, I'd probably say it's something perverted. Naruto said. Meanwhile, Weiss' eyes twitched when she heard Ruby continuing to draw and looked to see her finally up the drawing to the rest of the team. A drawing of a general ball with limbs and a head of the teacher directing the funny drawings of her and her team in battling blurs of line that are the Grimm. Blake and Yang silently laughed at the picture while Weiss looked annoyed. Ahem. Hearing the teacher clear his throat, the team jumped and then gave Peter their undivided attention. In the end, the Beowulf was no match for my sheer tenacity, and I returned to my village with the beast in captivity and my head held high, celebrated as a hero. Peter takes a bow, while Naruto sarcastically clapped as Pira and Rin giggled quietly, with Weiss noticing this and gets frustrated with his blatant disrespect and the rest of her teammates' antics. The moral of this story? A true huntsman must be honorable. Blake was seen reading a book catalog looking for the next edition of one of her favorite books, and Rin was filing her nails trying to ease her boredom from Peter's rambling. A true huntsman must be dependable. Yang was seen yawning before taking out a brush to brush her hair, and Nora was still snoozing, but her air bubble was bigger. A true huntsman must be strategic, well-educated, and wise. Pyrrha finally let her boredom show as she put her head in her right hand as she twirled her hair with her left finger, and Ruby pretended to fall asleep again and mocked, waking up, bored and looking for some action. All of these little antics fueling Weiss' rage as she looked like she was going to burst, which Naruto noticed. Oh damn. She looks like she's going to have a cow. Naruto thought. So, who among you believes themselves to be the embodiment of these traits? I do, sir. Weiss shouted, raising her hand up. Why not? Naruto said, raising his hand up as well. Well then, Ms. Shini, Mr. Uzumaki, let's find out. Peter said, and whipped off a cover to reveal 2 shaking cages with 2 sets of glowing red eyes and growls within them. Get changed, step forward, and face your opponents. What do you say, Snow Angel? Shall we fight them together? Naruto asked as he and Weiss got up from their seats. Ha! I guess I will allow this. Since I'm a Shini, you'll feel honored to fight alongside me. Weiss snarked, crossing her arms. Keep telling yourself that, princess. Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Humph. Weiss huffed. The two headed off to the changing room in the class, and after a few minutes they came out in their combat attire with their weapons at the ready. Are you two ready? Peter asked. They both nodded as Naruto got into a battle stance like Goku when he first met Vegeta, and Weiss placed her left foot forward and waved her Murdermaster in front of her. Go, Weiss! Yang said cheerfully. Fight well. Blake said, waving a small red flag with rwby on it. Good luck, Naruto. Rin said with confidence. Yeah. You can beat that sucker. Nora said after waking up, waving pom-poms in her hands that were colored orange, pink, red, and green. You can do it. Ruby said. Knock him dead. Pyrrha said. I'm trying to focus here. Weiss snapped at her team. This should be easy. Naruto smirked as his team. All right. Peter said quickly before the rest of the team could react. Let the first match begin. Peter used the axe blunderbuss to break the lock on both cages, revealing 2 Borbitusk, and upon spotting Weiss and Naruto, they immediately charged them. Weiss used her Murdermaster to deflect its attack, allowing her roll to the side while Naruto kicked the other one to the side and rolled away. The Borbitusks rounded on their opponents and studied them intently. Ha ha! Wasn't expecting that, were you? Peter said boastfully. Come on, Weiss. This Borbitusk should be easily pickings for you. Ruby muttered quietly. Naruto charged at the Borbitusk before jumping, and Pepper kicked it in the face. It got really mad and shook Naruto off before it charged at him, only for its tusks to be grabbed, and it turned into a power struggle trying to overpower the other. Weiss rushed at the other Borbitusk and managed to stab it in its skull. Unfortunately, her rapier was stuck in the Borgrim's tusk, something Weiss discovered when she tried to reel back, and ended up getting tossed while trying to get her weapon back. Bold new approaches. I like it. Peter praised. Naruto's pretty strong to be able to match a Borbitusk's strength. Pyrrha grinned. Come on, Weiss, capitalize on its weak point. Ruby muttered as the Borbitusk managed to disarm Weiss, sending her weapon flying. Oh ho! Now what will you do without your weapon? Peter questioned the Shini Company heiress, who was seething at the loss of Murdermaster. Weiss dodged, rolled out of the way as the Borbibusk flew past her and crashed into the front row of the desks. The Boar's tumble allowed Weiss to run toward her rapier to retrieve it. Weiss then rushed forward as the Borbitusk back away from the desk and stabbed it in the side. The Borbitusk gave her a look before spinning around while jumping back, making Weiss tumble herself into the floor. Hang on, Weiss. Naruto growled before he kneed his Borbitusk and backflipped away before twirled around and kicked it with his left leg, then his right leg, making it roll into the other Borbitusk as Naruto skidded beside Weiss. There's no armor beneath its belly. Just thought you should know. Ruby called out to her partner. Don't tell me what to do. Weiss yelled at her. Then how about you get that icicle out of your ass and let's do some double teaming? Naruto suggested, taking Sunset Tempest out. Fine. Weiss huffed begrudgingly. Both Borbitusks jumped in the air and rolled place before charging at hunters in training. Weiss swung her rapier to create 2 blue glyph. One is in front of her, and the second in the air behind her. The one that is in front of her had stopped the boar's spinning wheel as Naruto swiped his sword against it, and the other one making them fly up in the air, spinning backwards. After seeing the boar's defenseless, Weiss jumped into her second 1 glyph and launched herself to strike her blade into the boar's exposed belly as Naruto charged and slashed the boar diagonally and appearing behind it. Both boar grim evaporated in black smoke, signifying they were destroyed. Bravo! Bravio! It appears that we are indeed in the presence of true hunters in training. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Be sure to cover the assigned readings, and remember, stay vigilant. Class dismissed. Peter said, ending the class. Weiss growled in anger before she turned around and walked out the room, ignoring her teammates. What's with her? Pyrrha wondered, with Rin and Nora shrugging her shoulders, neither one not having an answer. She's just being a typical Shini, thinking they know everything. Naruto scoffed, putting his sword on his back. I guess she's just like the others. Blake sighed. Ruby! Yang shouted as Ruby, who was steaming, took off after Weiss. Oh no. Oh yes, Yang. Weiss got just a taste of the real Ruby behind that mask of excitement and happiness back in the forest. Now she's gonna get the full serving. Naruto sighed, sorta feeling sorry for Weiss. Oh well. Not my problem. In the hallway, Weiss. Ruby called out when she caught up with her. What? Weiss snapped, turning around to find an angry Ruby. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you being dash? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? You're supposed to be a leader, and all you've been so far is a nuisance. Excuse me? Exactly what have I done to be a nuisance? Telling me what to do, what? I never did back there. I only told you the obvious fact about that Borbatusk's weak spot that you seem to have forgotten. That's it. Only told you, not ordered. It was up to you either to exploit or not. It was only thanks to Naruto telling you to take that icicle out your ass that you was able to focus. I shut up. You're not cut out to lead me, a Schnee. Oh really? How's that, why Schnee? You've done nothing to earn your position. Back in the forest, you acted like a child, and you've only continued to do so, and you cut into my favorite clothes. Sounds like someone has selective memory. Where the hell is this coming from, Weiss? You've not the same person that helped me, Yang, Naruto, and Blake take out that Nevermore in the forest ruins. What happened to all the talk about working together? I thought you believed in acting as a team. Was I wrong? No. For once in your life, you're not wrong. I do believe in acting as team, just not in a team led by you. I've studied and trained. And quite frankly, I deserve better. You know why? I'm far better and more perfect than you, Blake, Yang, and especially Naruto could ever hope to be. Weiss said, turning her back on a shaking and fed-up Ruby. Ashbin made a simple mistake that will be rectified soon. Ina. Pathetic doesn't even begin to describe you, Weiss Schnee. Ruby said in an eerie calm voice and made Weiss whip around. What do you say? Slap. Weiss' head jerked to the side as she fell to the floor as Ruby's hand was outstretched after her slap. Weiss slowly turned her head to find Ruby with a dark look on her face, and her eyes were seemed to grow red. The Shinigami would be proud seeing this look. We don't need a rotten, judgmental, piece of shit princess like you on our team. Go to the man you claim made a simple mistake, get the hell off my team, and go back to your cushy life in Atlas. That's an order. Ruby screamed in rage and stormed off. In her rage, while attempting to calm down, she rounded a corner and bumped into someone that amazingly didn't spill their coffee or lose their cane. Now that didn't seem to go very well. Ashbin noted, having seen Ruby and Weiss spat. What was your first clue? Ruby asked bitterly. The fact that you mirror Summer Rose's temper so well. Ashbin answered with Ruby nodding, already figuring out that someone like Ashbin knew her mother, and hearing her mother's name made her calm down somewhat. Is my partner right? Did you make a mistake? Ruby asked and was surprised when he laughed lightly. Ruby, we all make mistakes. The one I made with you being leader remains to be seen. Ashbin remarked as he noted Ruby's doubtful expression. Another hallway, a while later. Meanwhile, Weiss was walking around the hall rubbing her sore cheek that now sported a red handprint where Ruby slapped the hell out of her. It still stung as she tried to ease the pain. Weiss knew what she said, and thought it to be true, because she believed that they were true, that she was better than anyone because she was a Schnee, and found her talent for combat after her kidnapping years ago. It was just a minor group of human terrorists who attempted to kidnap Weiss for ransom. Due to the currently undisclosed events of her childhood, Weiss wanted to prove that she wasn't a weakling. Catching her captors off guard during transport, she punches, slapped, bit, kicked, and clawed her way out of the car, but was injured since the car was moving when she jumped out. She would have been captured again if not for the timely intervention of Naruto, who happened to be nearby after completing a job and rescued her. When she was saved, Weiss was stunned by how well Naruto fought, and how bravely and majestic he looked. She was even more stunned when she asked if she was alright. Naturally, when she realized he was a faunus, she was all bratty, and yelled at him how a Schnee didn't need saving from vermin like him. Only she was surprised once again when he told her he didn't care if she was a Schnee. All he saw was a girl in need and that he would help her regardless of the consequences that followed. Since then, Naruto and Weiss had a love-hate relationship. She would act bossy and mean while looking down on him, but when they were alone, Weiss would treat him with the utmost kindness. They could talk about anything, and they always played together while making sure nobody saw them. After her kidnapping attempt, Weiss found out she had a calling in fighting and learning everything she could about fighting, which led her to dropping out of an academic school and into a training facility for hunters in training. While she wasn't that physically strong, she did manage to rise up the ranks with her skills in dust application, and it was all thanks to Naruto helping her. Sadly, it all ended when her father found out about her being friends with a faunus, made her break her friendship off with Naruto. When she voiced how her father was making her life, it lead to unpleasant things between them that mold her in the mean Schnee bitch she was today. But lately, Weiss felt a change within her, but tried to squash it by acting the way she usually does, only to find that she was feeling guilt for her actions as of late. I can't do that. A Schnee doesn't feel guilt. It's not what he would want, Weiss thought, holding her arms slightly shaking, remembering the lesson her father drilled into her on how a Schnee's supposed to act. Shaking her head, she walked on until she came across a balcony where Professor Peter Port was watching the sunset over Beacon's rooftops. Professor Port. She called out to him as she approached, drawing his attention. Ah, Ms. Schnee. And to what do I owe this fine pleasure? Peter greeted warmly. I enjoyed your lecture. Of course you did, child. You have the blood of a huntress in you. You really think so? Weiss asked hopefully. Most surely. Peter assured her before noticing her frown. Something's troubling you. Yes, sir, Weiss admitted and rubbed her cheek where the handprint remained. Dear girl, confess to me your strife. Well, I think I should have been the leader of Team rwby. Weiss said with conviction, expecting the professor to agree with her without question. That's preposterous. With Ruby. No disrespect, but that does not sound encouraging, Professor. Ruby said deadpanned. What I mean is it's only been one day. Ruby, I've made more mistakes than any man, woman, and child on this planet, but at this moment, I would not consider your appointment to leader to be one of them. Ashbin said and looked directly at Ruby, who still didn't look convinced. Do you? With Weiss. Excuse me? Weiss shrieked as her rage returned. I believed in Professor Ashbin for many years, and the man's never once led me astray. Peter said, scoffing. So you would just blindly accept his decision even after seeing how exceptional I can be compared to the rest? Weiss asked, confused. With all due respect, Ms. Schnee, your exceptional skill on the battlefield is outmatched by your poor attitude to your fellow peers. Port stated bluntly, causing Weiss to seethe. How dare you dash? She started loudly. My point exactly. Peter said, cutting her off. I see a girl before me who has spent her entire life getting exactly what she wanted. That's not even remotely true. Weiss protested, but the teacher's gaze told her he wasn't fooled. Well, not entirely true, but it came with a price. If the rumors of your household along the faunus populace were any indication. Yeah, but wait a minute. What did you say, Ruby? Being a team leader isn't just a title you carry into battle, but a badge you wear constantly. If you're not always performing at your absolute best, then what reason do you give others to follow you? Ashbin questioned Ruby, who looked thoughtful. You've been burdened with a daunting responsibility, Ruby. I advise you take some time to think about how you will uphold it. I will, but it'll only happen if I can have a team I can work with, who are willing to work with me. Ruby said and walked away as Ashbin looked after her with concern. Weiss, I will not go into detail about the rumors, for they have no bearing here at Beacon or in my class. So the outcome did not fall in your favor. Do you really believe that acting in such a manner would cause those in power that are not your father to reconsider their decision? Peter asked her pointedly, making her calm down as she thought it over. So instead of fretting about what you don't have and trying to lord over your peers, savor what you do have and the bonds you have yet to form. Hone your skills, perfect every technique, and only then will you not only be the best leader, but the best person you can be. Do you really think I can do that? Weiss asked nervously, wondering if such a thing is possible as Peter put a hand on her shoulder. The only person who can stop you is not your father, but yourself. Only if those rumors are true. Peter told her, and left, leaving her to think about his words of wisdom. After classes were done for the day, do you really think Weiss will leave the team like Ruby ordered? Blake wondered as she and Yang were sitting outside the dorm room with Naruto, Pira, Nora, and Rin there with them while Ruby was inside the room alone in her thoughts. I wouldn't be surprised if she followed through. I have to admit I had high hope for Weiss to be free of her old man's mental grip on her. I guess I was wrong since I saw major shades of it today. Naruto remarked as he was laying down on the ground while balancing Nora on his tail. What exactly happened to her? There's no way she was a total bitch all her life. Yang commented with Blake grimacing. Oh hell no. According to her sister Winter, who's only one of the handful of good Schnee in the family, Weiss was a sweet girl thanks to their mother, and from what I remember when we hung out together. It's just that her father, always being frustrated of his work, brought it home with him, and both Weiss and Winter suffered for it. Naruto said darkly. Do I even want to know? Pira asked with Naruto shaking his head. Let's just say that it has something to do with the Schnee Dust Company's feud with the White Fang and leave it at that. Blake answered. I kinda feel sorry for her. If she was as nice as you say, Naruto, then it's all her father's fault for messing her up. Nora huffed, kicking her legs. You're right about that, Nora. It's a shame how disgusting people manipulate others for their own benefit. Rin agreed. They then saw Weiss round the corner, and coming towards them. Hey guys. Weiss said in a much more pleasant-sounding tone, but became uncomfortable when her two teammates along with Team NPR just stared at her. Is Ruby in there? Why do you care? I thought a Schnee like yourself don't associate with people like our leader. Blake said coldly and glared at the heiress. I just need to talk to her for a second, Weiss said, choosing her words carefully, and trying not to react to Blake's harsh words. Just watch that mouth of yours, or Yang will break your jaw. Naruto warned as loud cracks came from Yang's fingers. I'll keep that in mind, Weiss muttered as she went past the others who stood up and entered the dorms where Ruby was laying on her bed. Guys, I haven't. Ruby started sitting up and spotting Weiss. Oh, Ruby, Weiss muttered, rubbing her arm. What do you want? Ruby asked irritably. So, I guess I've been kind of a bitch since the forest. Weiss admitted truthfully. Oh. Well, yeah, sure, if you want to put it lightly. Oh, come on, Ruby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the way I acted, but you must understand that I have issues that made me act the way I am. Weiss tried to explain, but Ruby just looked at her. And you think that excuse will fly and make everything better? Even if it's true, do you even know how to act normal? Ruby asked, catching Weiss off guard. Huh? What do you mean? Of course I do. Really? 'Cause I had yet to see you stop acting like a bitch to everyone. If you keep up with that kind of attitude, everyone will keep being either a bitch or an asshole to you, and then everyone will be at each other's throats, instead of doing what they came here to do and become hunters to protect Remnant. Ruby said, leaping off her hammock-style bed. I mean, come on, is this really what you want in life? You just want to be an arrogant, angry bitch and think you're better than everyone else 24/7? That's not what a normal person does, because that is by far the stupidest thing to do ever, and you wanna know what? You're a real dumbass for thinking that, Ooh-hee, Weiss stammered as Ruby's tore her apart. Oh wow. Yang said, putting a hand to her mouth, man, she's really tearing into her. Rin must, and to think she's only 15 years old. Nora whistled, so we're all not disciplined like you. So we're not perfect. Who cares, because we are all born onto his world to be the best that we can be. No one is born perfect, and will never be, because we all make mistakes sometimes, so when we do, we can learn from them. So squash whatever's making you princess bitch, and get over it, because there's no place for it on Team rwby, you got that? Weiss was silent, having nothing to say as her leader and partner panted for a bit. In a funny way, Ruby made a lot of sense. Weiss let the pain of her past dictate her present and future, and pretty much made her unfriendable to everyone, which in Ruby's words, was stupid. Are you alright, Ruby? That was quite a tirade. Blake noted as Ruby started breathing normally. Yeah, girl. That was fierce. Pyrrha added. I'm fine, Blake, Pyrrha. Ruby said and turned back to Weiss. Now that I said my piece, think we can start over? For real this time? Instead of fretting about what you don't have and trying to lord over your peers, savor what you do have and the bonds you have yet to form. Hone your skills, perfect every technique, and only then will you not only be the best leader, but the best person you can be. I'd like that. And again, I'm sorry. You won't see me acting like a Thadigan. You can hold me to that. Weiss vowed. We'll see. Yang, Blake, and Rin thought as Ruby looked at Weiss for a moment before smiling. Well then. Hello Weiss, I'm Ruby. Wanna hang out? We can go study together, and watch the older students spar. Yeah. And we can paint our nails and try on clothes and talk about cute boys, like cool, awesome, and handsome over there. Well, I am handsome. Naruto said, nodded his head, rubbing his chin, but grunted when Pyrrha elbowed him. Wow, really? Yes. Now how do you take your coffee, eh? 1 cream and 5 sugars. Geez, no wonder you're so hyper. Better me than Naruto. It's suicide to give him caffeine. Ruby commented and giggled. Hey. Fuck you, Rose. I'll remember that when you want me to make your favorite strawberry cookies. Naruto said indignantly. No, please. I take it back. Just don't deprive of my babies. Ruby pleaded, laying down on the ground, wrapping her arms around Naruto's legs as anime tears ran down her face. Humph. Naruto huffed, looking away and crossing his arms. Good to know. Weiss said, smiling, finding the exchange kind of fun before looking apologetic again. Ruby, I think you have what it takes to be a good leader. Just know that I am going to be the best teammate you'll ever have. Ruby stopped crying and got up, smiling appreciatively at Weiss. Thank you, Weiss. Weiss then stepped forward and gave Naruto a hug, which surprised everyone, even him, as she then felt warm from Naruto's body, who returned the hug. I missed having you around, Naruto. Weiss whispered. I miss you too, my little Snow White princess. Naruto whispered back as Weiss blushed from the old childhood nickname. Ah. Yang and Nora cooed lovingly. How sweet. Pyrrha smiled, with Rin nodding, smiling as well. Well, I guess it's a start, Blake thought to herself, giving a soft smile. You know, I always wanted bunk beds as a kid, and friends to call my own. Weiss said, looking at Ruby. Well, now you have 'em. Ruby smiled. Weiss nodded and looked out the window behind her. I'm through having your shadow of ideals haunt me, father. Now I'll follow my own path, and once I become a huntress and take over the Schnee Dust Company, things will be much different. What if Kami sends Naruto to Ruby? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.